A young man awakens in a hospital bed, his expression a mixture of exhaustion and confusion. He stares in disbelief at a menacing door, glowing with red energy, floating in the middle of his room. Crawling to the edge of his bed, he cautiously inspects the impossible object, trying to make sense of it. His curiosity overriding his fear, he reaches out and his hand closes around the cold metallic doorknob. The instant he turns the handle, an unseen force violently pulls him headfirst through the doorway. He lands hard on a cracked, desolate floor, looking back in shock at the portal he just fell through. Sitting up, he realizes the door has opened into a long, grimy hallway that shouldn't exist. He steps cautiously into the oppressive darkness, the doorway behind him his only source of light. A sudden, sharp chewing sound from the shadows ahead makes him freeze with alarm. The disturbing sounds of crunching and feasting echo from the pitch blackness, growing ever closer. The source of the feasting is revealed, a colossal, three-eyed skeleton dripping with gore. The creature unleashes a terrifying roar, its power sending the man stumbling back in absolute panic. With a panicked apology, he dives back through the portal and slams the door shut on the horrors within. Catching his breath, he turns around to find the impossible door has vanished, leaving only a wisp of dark energy. A disembodied voice suddenly congratulates him for awakening an ability called World Link, declaring it has finally found him. Utterly spooked, he frantically scans the empty room, demanding to know who is speaking to him. The voice explains it's a telepathic communication from another world, warning him his life depends on following its instructions. His first instruction is to open his bag and find a specific, creepy-looking statue. He finds the golden skull, learning it's a cursed artifact someone deliberately planted to end his life. The voice declares that despite the powerful curse placed upon him, he has miraculously survived. A flood of memories reveals the shocking truth. He's an entirely different soul inhabiting the body of a middle schooler. The voice explains the original owner's soul was completely annihilated by the statue's curse. In a twist of fate, his own soul, having just died from overwork, seamlessly took over the vacant body. The voice reveals a critical flaw in the curse. If it fails to kill, it grants its target unimaginable power instead. As the golden skull crumbles to dust, he's commanded to summon the mysterious door once more. The portal instantly reappears, a manifestation of his newfound World Link ability. A system window pops up, bestowing him the title Polite Person for his surprisingly courteous escape. He inspects the new title, a damaged passive skill that gives others a slightly better impression of him. The voice warns that the ones who cursed him will soon realize he survived and are likely on their way. The terrifying world he stumbled into is finally given a name, now glowing ominously on the door: the Nightmare Realm. The voice reveals its own imprisonment, commanding him to grow strong, conquer the Nightmare Realm, and set it free. He clenches his fists in frustration, unable to find any enemies in the body's memories who would want him dead. Realizing he's defenseless, he equips the Polite Person title, planning to re-enter the portal to earn a better one. Despite his fear of the skeleton, he grabs the handle, forming a risky plan to stay near the exit and attempt communication. Banking on his new title, he rationalizes that he can negotiate with the once-human skeleton to deal with his enemies. Stepping back into the hellish dimension, he immediately questions his plan upon facing the colossal, three-eyed monster. Mustering his courage, he formally introduces himself and mentally activates his Polite Person skill. The skeletal monstrosity responds with a low growl, its three spectral eyes flaring with green energy. Mistaking the growl for a positive sign, he apologizes for the earlier interruption and boldly offers his friendship. His offer is immediately rejected as the creature lunges forward, swinging its massive claw to strike him down. He narrowly dodges the attack, the creature's claw shattering the floor where he stood. Thrown back into his room, he's frustrated that his attempt at diplomacy was met with such aggression. The enraged skeleton smashes through the portal, destroying his only escape route from its side. The door's destruction sends him flying back onto his hospital bed with a painful thud. Catching his breath, he laments the uselessness of his title and wonders what he earned for this disastrous encounter. A system message crushes his hopes, revealing he can only gain one new title per day. Realizing the skeleton now camps his only path to power, he feels the urgency of his impending doom. He decides to risk it all, banking on his past life experience as an expert salesman to close the ultimate deal. The skeletal beast's glowing eyes fixate on him as he steps back into the Nightmare Realm. Instead of attacking, the monster pauses, observing him from amidst the wreckage with an unnerving stillness. He points out the futility of its attacks, as he can simply retreat through the portal at any time. With a salesman's smile, he confidently states that since it can't catch him, their only option is to negotiate. The creature responds with another furious roar, clearly not interested in a conversation. Yet, it hesitates at the portal's edge, giving him an opening to ask if it's ready to hear his business proposal. As the monster begins to turn away in disinterest, he desperately urges it not to leave. He switches tactics, pointing out the creature's numerous, poorly healed injuries all over its skeletal frame. His observation hits the mark, causing the colossal skeleton to freeze and listen with newfound attention. He then presents his ultimate sales pitch, a phone displaying an ad for calcium tablets to help its bones. Standing in the doorway, he offers a deal: friendship in exchange for a steady supply of bone-strengthening supplements. Holding his breath, he anxiously awaits the monster's response to his unorthodox proposal. The skeletal beast responds by gathering a ball of crackling purple energy in its hand. Realizing his initial offer failed, he decides to try a different tactic with a determined look. A system notification chimes as a magical contract, sealed with a skull, materializes from the energy. He stares in disbelief, realizing his audacious negotiation has actually succeeded. Reading the contract, he's stunned by the monster's grandiose titles, including Defeated Lord of the Underworld. His awe turns to disappointment as the titles conclude with Battlefield Acquisition Officer, a seemingly low-ranking position. The skeleton telepathically proposes a soul exchange, asking for help to regain its strength and noting it rarely deals with non-gods. The contract terms appear, offering a fair, terminable deal that requires his signature to become binding. As he signs his name, Shen Ye, his own impressive titles manifest, declaring him the gatekeeper of two realms. The contract is sealed, binding the man and the three-eyed monster in a swirling vortex of energy. Back in the real world, his mother expresses her concern for his well-being now that he's out of the hospital. His new parents fuss over him, offering a health tonic and the calcium tablets he'd requested for his skeletal ally. Overwhelmed by their affection, the former orphan feels a deep sense of gratitude for this unexpected family. The tender family moment is suddenly interrupted by an unexpected knock at the front door. Two police officers introduce themselves, explaining they've come to investigate the incident that put him in the hospital. The lead officer dismisses the event as an unpredictable misfortune, telling him he's simply lucky to be alive. Shenya silently rejects this notion, refusing to accept that his fate is out of his hands. He vividly recalls the truth. The original Shen Ye was killed by a monster summoned by the very curse he survived. He questions the officer's logic, wondering if people are truly meant to just accept such a cruel fate. His pointed question leaves the officer speechless, sweating under the weight of the boy's unexpected intensity. The officer acknowledges Shenya's intensity, preparing to share some crucial information. He reveals the hospital will be permanently sealed by the higher-ups to prevent any further incidents. Shenya notes the officer's sergeant rank and expresses his fear that he is still being targeted. The sergeant dismisses this, stating their investigation found no one with a grudge against a simple middle schooler. With their official business concluded, the two officers salute and turn to leave. As they walk away, Shenya realizes that even the government is terrified of the curse and wants to stay away. He sinks into his seat, wondering why such a powerful weapon would be used on an ordinary student. To his surprise, the sergeant suddenly reappears in the doorway, having not left with his partner. The officer holds out his business card, offering it to a stunned Shenya. He instructs the boy to call him directly if anything feels off, before finally departing. He examines the card, noting the name of Sergeant Luo Feichuan from the East District Police. Alone in his room, he debates whether to trust the rogue officer when even the government is helpless. A grim realization dawns. Now that his survival is known, his enemies will surely come for him again. The chilling thought that his new family could become the next target fills him with dread. Fueled by a new protective instinct, he resolves to gain power with fierce determination. With no time to waste, he summons the portal, his only gateway to getting stronger. He steps into the nightmare realm, masking his urgency with a confident salesman's smile. Holding the promised supplements, he calls out to his monstrous new partner in the desolate landscape. The colossal skeleton descends from the darkness, its glowing eyes locking onto the boy and his offering. Instead of taking the gift, the creature points its bony finger back towards the portal, leaving Shenya confused. Shenya questions the skeleton's unexpected request in the nightmare realm. The skeleton conjures a swirling green energy, presenting a magical contract. The contract details the skeleton's desire for Shenya's health tonic. The skeleton offers a low-tier nightmare crystal in exchange for the tonic. The crystal contains skills and knowledge from the skeleton's defeated enemies. Shenya, intrigued by the crystal's power, eagerly accepts the deal. The crystal shatters, releasing its energy into Shenya. He absorbs the crystal's power, learning a new movement technique. Shenya reflects on the unexpected trade, pleased with his new skill. The skeleton receives its payment, the health tonics, through the portal. The portal to the nightmare realm vanishes, plunging the room back into darkness. He questions his partner's secrecy, wondering why they must hide from each other after signing a contract. Hearing his parents return, he decides to practice his new moonlit deer walk technique in his room. A system notification reveals he lacks the required agility points to use his new evasion skill. A chilling, disembodied voice echoes in the room, wondering how he could possibly still be alive. Shenya's eyes widen in shock as he realizes he is no longer alone. An ominous figure in a suit appears outside his window, hanging upside down and staring directly at him. The scarred intruder with a single glowing eye prepares to see what the boy is truly capable of. The assassin shatters the window and lunges forward, launching a swift and deadly attack. Shenya instinctively activates his new skill, gracefully evading the strike and surprising his attacker. The assassin gives a nod of approval for the boy's quick reflexes, while Shenya breathes a sigh of relief. He realizes with a jolt that his enemies have wasted no time in sending a professional to finish the job. Switching tactics, Shenya puts on a polite smile, attempting to de-escalate the situation with disarming charm. His politeness proves useless as the assassin lunges again, determined to end him. A system window reveals his polite person title is too low ranked to be effective, leaving him frustrated. The assassin dismisses his evasive moves as mere tricks and pulls out a firearm to end the chase. Cornered and facing the barrel of a gun, Shenya feels a cold sweat as his options run out. A timely system notification reveals he can consume titles for stat points, a feature he desperately needed. He instantly consumes the title, boosts his agility, and unlocks the full power of his moonlit deer walk skill. Enveloped in a green, spectral aura, he activates the deer walk, preparing to gracefully evade the next attack. The assassin stares in disbelief as Shenya vanishes in a flash of green light. Enraged, the assassin draws a blade and charges into the darkness where his target disappeared. He finds himself in a desolate, unfamiliar realm, questioning if he has entered a secret passage. Shenya cheekily waves goodbye from a doorway, revealing the assassin has been lured into a trap. Realizing he's been outplayed, the assassin desperately lunges towards the closing portal. A monstrous three-eyed creature suddenly emerges from the shadows, blocking the assassin's path. The beast swiftly overpowers the stunned assassin, ending the confrontation in an instant. After consuming its prey, the creature holds a newly formed glowing green orb in its hand. Back in his room, Shenya collapses against the wall, breathing heavily after his narrow escape. He knows more assassins will come and resolves to find powerful self-defense cards to survive. A system notification confirms his contract partner is pleased with the living sacrifice and is sending a reward. The reward materializes as 2 green quality items, the Pale Shadow Crown and the Silver War Medal. He learns the crown offers an elven disguise, and the medal provides a direct portal to elven lands. Amused by his partner's opportunistic nature, he decides to try on the Pale Shadow Crown. In a flash of magical energy, the crown transforms him into a striking, golden-haired elf. He excitedly checks his reflection, realizing the disguise is perfect for his future plans to raid the elven territory. A voice calls his name from outside the door, and he panics, thinking another assassin has found him. The visitor identifies himself as Chen Haoyu, expressing immense relief that Shenya is safe. Recognizing his best friend's name, he hastily removes the crown to return to his normal appearance. The moment the door opens, his distraught friend tackles him in a hug, overcome with guilt and relief. Shenya reassures Haoyu, claiming his recent troubles were just bad luck. Shenya's mother returns home, inquiring about his father's whereabouts. She reveals his father is seeking more health tonics from his grandfather. Haoyu is astonished by the family's access to rare and expensive tonics. Haoyu urges Shenya to focus on his upcoming high school entrance exams. Shenya is reminded of the original body owner's academic pressures. He recalls the curse caused him to miss the first exam due to hospitalization. Haoyu blames himself for Shenya's missed exam, citing his own perfect grades. Shenya contemplates the unique physical and academic demands of this world's exams. He realizes the importance of stats for skills like moonlit deer walk, but is concerned about being hunted. His mother embraces him, her love a stark contrast to the recent danger he faced. She prioritizes his safety over any academic pressure, a sentiment that deepens his resolve. He confidently reassures her, hinting at a newfound strength she can't yet comprehend. His mother watches him, a flicker of surprise in her eyes at his sudden change in demeanor. Knowing he could easily quit, he instead declares his intention to attend the exam review sessions. Memories of the original Shenya's influential family surface, revealing a powerful but distant grandfather. He understands his parents chose a humble life, estranged from their wealthy relatives due to a strained relationship. The realization dawns that his parents could never have afforded the expensive health tonic on their own. He concludes they must have swallowed their pride and begged his grandfather, all for a son who was already gone. Determined to honor their sacrifice, he decides to live fully in this new life, starting with a simple request for food. Shenya enjoys a peaceful meal with his mother and best friend, a rare moment of normalcy. The next day, he heads back to school, ready to face this world's unique academic trials. He's taken aback by the curriculum, which includes subjects like body mechanics and psychic energy. He finds comfort in the crowded school, realizing it's a sanctuary where assassins wouldn't dare strike. A classmate interrupts his studies, informing him that a girl named Zhao Yibing is looking for him. He approaches the girl, recalling she was a studious friend who constantly nagged the original Shenya. She confidently announces her own exam success, certain she's headed for an elite high school. He offers a simple congratulations, but her hesitation hints that she has more to say. With a serious look, she suddenly tells him to stop associating with her from now on. Her public rejection immediately draws a crowd of gossiping students, leaving Shenya utterly bewildered. She explains they're from different worlds and should go their separate ways, offering a hollow friendship as a consolation. To prove her point, she flaunts his deleted contact info, but Shenya is utterly unimpressed by her petty move. He flips the script, coldly reminding her that she was the one who always pursued him, not the other way around. The crowd erupts in gossip as Haoyu reveals she's a fair-weather friend, ditching Shenya after one academic stumble. Another girl jumps to Yibing's defense, scolding Shenya for being ungrateful and a disappointment. Yibing puts on a tearful display, trying to paint herself as the heartbroken victim in their public breakup. Seeing right through her act, Shenya scoffs at her attempt to guilt-trip him and prepares to turn the tables. He loudly declares that her gifts were just a way to control him and that he has every right to find someone better. He offers to pay her back for everything she ever gave him, decisively ending their association for good. Her friend explodes with rage at his audacity, while Yibing is left stunned and humiliated by his brutal counterattack. The crowd turns on Shenya, calling him a scumbag for humiliating the supposedly heartbroken Yibing. Yibing panics as her plan crumbles, realizing she's the one who looks foolish in front of everyone. Just as Shenya tries to leave, a burly student angrily steps in to block his path. The student snarls that Shenya isn't going anywhere until Yibing says he can. Shenya coolly identifies his new opponent as Sun Ming, the third-ranked student, and tells him to move. Sun Ming boasts about his newfound strength, threatening to hurt Shenya if he doesn't apologize immediately. Shenya's demeanor shifts dramatically, appearing to surrender as he reluctantly agrees to apologize. He turns to Yibing with a look of defeat, conceding that she has won their public spat. With fake tears streaming down his face, he sarcastically asks if she's finally happy now that he's been humiliated. In a shocking twist, he lands a swift kick on Sun Ming's leg and makes a tearful escape, leaving the crowd completely baffled. The crowd is stunned by his dramatic exit, with Yibing looking on in disbelief at his supposed heartbreak. Yibing panics, trying to deny her involvement, while internally blaming Sun Ming for ruining her scheme. Enraged by the humiliation, Sun Ming chases after Shenya, vowing to make him pay for his actions. Sun Ming throws a furious punch, but Shenya calmly anticipates and evades the clumsy attack. With incredible speed, Shenya grabs his opponent's arm and sends him flying with a powerful throw. The onlookers gasp as Shenya lands a final kick, completely overwhelming the third-ranked student. Surrounded by a green aura, he gracefully evades multiple attackers, moving like a phantom through the chaos. His classmates are left speechless by his newfound agility, realizing he's far faster than they ever imagined. Shenya stands confidently, his moonlit deer walk skill active, wondering why Sun Ming is still pursuing him after he already apologized. An angry teacher suddenly appears, scolding the crowd and ordering all students to the field for the mock exams. The crowd disperses at the teacher's command, disappointed they missed the end of the fight. Sun Ming shoots Shenya a final glare, promising their conflict is far from settled. All students gather on the athletic field, forming long lines for the upcoming mock exams. While Shenya stretches, his friend Hao Yu eagerly runs over to greet him. Hao Yu tries to convince him to sneak off to a new comic shop to kill time. Shenya makes up an excuse about a stomach ache, secretly planning to use the time to claim a system reward. He heads down a deserted school hallway, sensing something is amiss. Needing privacy, he quickly slips inside an empty restroom stall. Just as he vanishes from sight, a sinister figure materializes in the hallway. An assassin, armed with a blade, stealthily approaches the restroom, hunting its prey. The assassin grips a pen-like blade, imbuing it with a sinister purple energy. He stalks down the corridor, his shadowy form blending into the darkness as he closes in on the restroom. The killer hesitates at the entrance, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his featureless face. He storms into the empty restroom, bewildered that his target has vanished without a trace. Meanwhile, Shenya has been transported to another realm, taking on the form of a graceful elf surrounded by mystical energy. He surveys the bleak landscape, searching for an unseen companion in the desolate space. His foot nudges a modern firearm lying on the cracked ground, a stark contrast to the fantasy setting. Discovering the pistol is loaded, he eagerly claims it as a new tool for self-defense in this unfamiliar territory. After briefly wondering about his missing ally, he clutches a glowing mask and resolves to continue his journey alone. A pillar of blue light engulfs him, signaling the end of his time in this reward space and his imminent return. A mysterious voice suddenly calls out, identifying him as a human and startling him. He recognizes the voice, which explains its power is fading, but offers him one last gift. The voice presents him with a strange, shadowy artifact it calls a human token. The mysterious token dissolves into the ground, its purpose still unknown. He is instantly teleported, finding himself lying in the grass of a lush, unfamiliar forest. Dazed, he sits up and surveys his new surroundings, believing he's arrived in the elves' territory. He discovers a new dagger in his hand, a parting gift from the voice, and wonders why he received it. His sharp senses detect movement, and he quickly turns to confront the unseen presence. He's suddenly surrounded by a group of armed elves who seem to recognize him, calling him by another name. One of the elves stares intently at him, confirming they believe he is someone named Fern. The lead elf chides him for his tardiness, annoyed that he almost forced them to abandon their mission. Shenya offers a vague excuse while secretly realizing his companions are imposters, disguised by the same crown he wears. The leader reveals their treacherous plan to betray the local elves, eliminate their chief, and plunder their treasures that very night. Playing his part, Shenya eagerly accepts the mission, but then carelessly starts adjusting his disguise. His new comrades immediately panic, yelling at him to stop touching the magical crown. They frantically explain that removing it would expose their true undead nature, confirming Shenya's suspicions. Despite the blunder, the leader reassures the others while Shenya fumes internally, realizing he's inherited a skeleton's dirty work. The group sets off at a sprint, rushing towards the elf village to make up for lost time. Shenya is stunned by their incredible speed, barely managing to keep pace with the powerful undead. They finally reach the village, where the leader explains their badges will grant them safe passage, much to Shenya's relief. The leader reveals the plan, assigning Shenya the sole responsibility of assassinating the elven chief. A stunned Shenya points to himself, silently questioning why he's been chosen for the most dangerous task. His comrades immediately grow suspicious, their faces darkening as they accuse him of trying to back out. Forced to play along, Shenya puts on a bloodthirsty act, eagerly accepting the mission to quell their doubts. The leader buys his performance, but Shenya knows he's trapped, realizing refusal would have been a death sentence. As the village gates come into view, he laments being set up for a suicide mission by the skeleton he replaced. A guard on the wall spots their war medallion and orders the gates opened, welcoming them as heroes from the front lines. The leader gestures for the group to follow, leading them directly toward their meeting with the chief. They ascend a grand staircase, entering the breathtaking elven village built among the towering trees. Shenya's resolve is tested as innocent elven children wave cheerfully, unaware of the traitors walking among them. Shenya is momentarily distracted by the welcoming party of beautiful elven maidens. A guard at a large ornate door informs them that the chief is ready for their meeting. The leader orders Shenya to enter alone, confirming his suspicion that they're only there to prevent his escape. Resigned to his fate, he walks toward the door, pondering the potential rewards of this impossible mission. He steps into the dark antechamber, following a lone beam of light toward the chief's hall. With a determined expression, he mentally prepares himself for the deadly confrontation ahead. Inside, a formidable elf stands before a grand window, engrossed in a book wreathed in mystical blue fire. The elven chief turns to greet him, his piercing gaze and confident smile revealing he knows more than he lets on. Shenya's eyes widen in utter shock as he perceives something completely unexpected about his target. A system notification reveals a new power, the ability to see the hidden titles of others. He's stunned to see the elf chief's overwhelming list of titles, including Grandmaster of Arcane Arts and one of the 5 world heads. In stark contrast, Shenya's own title is revealed to be the laughably simple, polite person. He realizes the mission is impossible, knowing even his powerful undead allies wouldn't stand a chance against such a being. As the chief watches him, Shenya silently vows to get revenge on the skeleton who trapped him in this deadly situation. The chief warmly welcomes him as a valiant soldier, completely oblivious to the assassination plot. With a casual display of power, the chief surprises Shenya by casting a teleportation spell. Shenya finds himself at a celebratory banquet, where the chief invites him to join the festivities. His comrades reveal the plan. He must attack the chief during the banquet while they create a diversion for their own escape. Nervously eating, he accepts that he's on a suicide mission and desperately tries to think of a way out. His strategic planning is suddenly interrupted when an elven maiden asks him for a dance. She expresses her desire to dance with a hero from the front lines, her eyes full of admiration. He reluctantly accepts her invitation, claiming he's a poor dancer, but she graciously offers to lead. They take to the floor, moving in a surprisingly elegant dance surrounded by a swirl of magical butterflies. While his partner enjoys the dance, Shenya's awkward expression betrays his inner turmoil. He internally curses his situation, unable to enjoy the moment while desperately searching for an escape plan. His dance partner notices his silence, wondering if the horrors of war have taken a toll on his spirit. He deflects her concern by apologizing for his dancing and smoothly asks for her name, which she reveals is Lainey. Seizing an opportunity, he offers to perform a magic trick as an apology, which delights the young elf immensely. Lainey wagers her bracelet on his performance, playfully warning him that the trick had better be impressive. With unwavering confidence, he accepts her challenge and prepares to put his mysterious new plan into action. Shenya grandly captures the attention of the entire banquet, promising a magic trick unlike any they've ever witnessed. With a confident smirk, he announces his grand illusion. He will transform himself into a human. The elven crowd, especially Lainey, erupts with excitement, eagerly encouraging him to perform the unheard-of feat. His undead companions are baffled, with one praising Fern's cleverness, while the others question his ability to pull it off. Locking eyes with the audience, he slowly reaches for the magical crown, building the suspense for his grand reveal. He removes the crown, reverting to his human form in a flash of green light and dedicating the trick to a stunned Lainey. Lainey and the surrounding elves stare in wide-eyed wonder, completely mesmerized by his transformation. The crowd cheers in amazement at the successful trick, and an impressed Lainey asks him to change back. Shenya smugly explains that the secret to his transformation was simply taking off the crown. He then turns the tables, pointing at his panicked comrades and announcing they can do the exact same trick, sealing their fate. He reveals the grim truth. Removing their crowns will expose them as the undead monsters they truly are. The word undead sends a shockwave through the hall, conjuring images of their monstrous, red-eyed enemies. Elven guards instantly raise their spears, declaring a red alert as the banquet descends into chaos. Shenya calmly strolls toward a mysterious door, promising to return after his brothers finish their transformation. He lies back into the coffin-like portal, waving a final casual farewell to the bewildered Lainey. In a wisp of dark magic, he vanishes completely, leaving the elves to question what just happened. A composed Lainey takes command, ordering the guards to capture the 3 exposed undead infiltrators. Before the undead can even react, powerful vines shoot up from the ground, ensnaring them instantly. The vines tighten into inescapable cocoons as a powerful voice reveals he was merely playing along with the traitors. The elven chief appears, admitting he knew of their plot and finds it ironic that a human orchestrated their downfall. The trapped undead desperately tries to plead his case, claiming it's all a misunderstanding. But his illusion shatters, revealing his terrifying, multi-eyed true form as the magical crown falls away. The chief inspects the crown, impressed by its powerful magic and realizing it's the key to exposing all undead spies. With a grateful expression, the elven leader acknowledges the immense debt he now owes the mysterious human. Back in the subdued banquet hall, Lainey stares blankly, coming to terms with the hero's sudden departure. A stark realization dawns on her. The charming human who saved them will never return. Meanwhile, Shenya reappears in the dark void, reflecting on his high-stakes gamble and the portal's strange adaptability. His contemplation is cut short as he senses a presence, turning to find the red skeleton lurking in the shadows. Furious, Shenya confronts the skeleton, accusing it of feasting while he was risking his life. The skeleton is shocked to see him alive, while Shenya furiously realizes the creature can speak and had intentionally sent him to his doom. The skeleton demands to know how Shenya survived, offering payment, but the furious human declares he holds a grudge. To demonstrate its sincerity, the skeleton materializes a powerful necromantic spell as a peace offering. Shenya erupts in fury, feeling insulted that the skeleton believes a mere trinket can erase a near-death experience. The skeleton calmly explains it chose him because, as a human, he had a chance of survival that an undead never would. As a true apology, it presents a legacy nightmare crystal, containing 3 powerful innate abilities for him to inherit. It reveals the crystal is the priceless foundation of its power, and the only reason its enemies haven't destroyed it. Flustered but tempted, Shenya accepts the gift, pretending his principles are forcing him to forgive the skeleton's sincerity. The scene shatters, revealing a formidable skeleton king on a throne, the true source of the voice and power. The king unleashes 3 glowing orbs, representing the ancient abilities, which fly directly toward Shenya. With glowing purple eyes, the king commands him to choose one of the powers and make it his own. The first choice is Murmurs of the Dark, a skill to extract secrets from the deceased. The second option is Sacred Bone Body, offering a brief, life-saving invincibility. The final power is Necromantic Resurrection, a primordial art for reviving the undead. Shenya analyzes his options, dismissing the resurrection and invincibility skills as impractical for his current needs. He decisively chooses Murmurs of the Dark, prioritizing information over raw power. As he crushes the crystal, a torrent of green energy surges through him, marking his absorption of the new power. The ability activates, and he can now hear the whispers of the dead, much to the skeleton's disbelief. The skeleton reveals that no necromancer has ever chosen this information-gathering skill over the more combat-oriented ones. With his new power secured, Shenya presses the skeleton for the full story behind the botched mission. The skeleton drops a bombshell. The target wasn't just any elf, but their most powerful high priest in disguise. Shenya processes the high priest's many titles, realizing he's finally free from the captured undead spies. As the Skeleton King begins to crumble and fade, a surprised Shenya questions its sudden departure. He dismisses the fading king, deciding to focus on his own problems as he heads for the exit portal. A system notification grants him a new title, One of Us, which can trick a target into becoming a temporary ally. He's then surprised by another reward, examining a new green-quality item called Nature's Blessing Bracelet. He realizes the rare bracelet is a gift from Lainey, an accessory that slowly boosts his spirit power. Walking down a modern hallway, he mentally tallies his impressive haul and decides to hide his new gear. The scene abruptly shifts to a sunny athletic field, where a student named Chen Haoyu readies himself for an agility test. As the test begins, Chen Haoyu explodes from the starting line, moving with incredible speed and leaving purple trails. Shenya is spotted in the crowd, anxiously shouting encouragement for his friend Haoyu to succeed. Haoyu confidently thanks Shenya for the support, certain he's got the test in the bag. His overconfidence immediately backfires as a paintball splatters directly across his face. The instructor announces Haoyu's mediocre score before calling a dejected Shenya to take his turn. With a calm and focused expression, Shenya prepares himself at the starting line. As the test starts, he effortlessly weaves through a storm of incoming paintballs. Onlookers are stunned by his incredible speed and fluid movements, questioning how he improved so much. He internally credits his real-world combat experience, using elven footwork to make the test seem trivial. Meanwhile, 2 officials observe from afar, one explaining that this is a makeup exam for a top student. The long-haired official is impressed, but states Shenya must also achieve a perfect score on the psychic power test to be considered. The other man protests, arguing that a perfect psychic score is an unreasonable demand for a student with previously average abilities. The official remains firm, stating that anything less than a perfect psychic score is a failure for Shenya. After the instructor announces his perfect agility score, Shenya confidently reaffirms his determination to pass. His friend Haoyu celebrates the victory, but Shenya declines to join, opting to return to the classroom to study. Alone in the empty classroom, he slumps over his desk, overwhelmed by the unfamiliar textbooks. He struggles as his old memories clash with this new world's curriculum, giving him a splitting headache. His contemplation is violently cut short when a bully kicks his desk, sending him flying. The attacker glares down at him with a menacing grin, ready for a confrontation. Unfazed, Shenya gets up and correctly identifies the person who sent the bullies after him. The bully scoffs at the suggestion, slamming the classroom door shut to trap Shenya inside. The group surrounds him, with their leader boasting about his own power and challenging Shenya for the top spot. Surrounded by a green aura, Shenya calmly activates his new title, One of Us. The bullies are suddenly frozen in confusion, their aggression replaced with bewilderment. Under the spell's influence, the group apologizes, revealing they were sent by someone else and now consider him a friend. But the effect abruptly ends, and their friendly expressions twist back into menacing glares as they lunge forward. Deeming the temporary title useless, Shenya uses a new skill to devour it, converting it into 3 permanent stat points. He discovers he can reallocate all his stats, instantly shifting his points from agility to strength for a massive power boost. A bully grabs him from behind, taunting him to fight, but Shenya remains completely unfazed. The leader charges forward with a glowing fist, preparing to deliver a devastating blow. With his newfound strength, Shenya effortlessly blocks the powerful strike with his knee, stopping the attack cold. His eyes narrow with cold focus, revealing he is completely in control of the fight. The bully leader stares in utter shock, unable to comprehend how his attack was so easily stopped. With a sharp twist, Shenya breaks the leader's arm, causing him to recoil in agony. As a system panel explains the baseline for human stats, Shenya effortlessly tosses another bully aside. He continues his counterattack, systematically neutralizing the entire group with swift, powerful strikes. The remaining bullies are horrified, realizing he shrugged off their leader's punch like it was nothing. A system notification details the true meaning of the strength stat, as Shenya's power becomes undeniable. He stands over the fallen bullies, calmly questioning their motives for attacking him over petty jealousy. Lifting the tearful leader by his collar, Shenya reminds him how easily the old him would have been defeated. He coldly recounts how they tried to humiliate and destroy the future of this body's previous owner. Deciding against forgiveness, Shenya delivers a final, decisive blow to end the confrontation. The commotion from the classroom echoes through the school, drawing unwanted attention. An instructor bursts in, demanding to know the cause of the disturbance. He finds the bullies scattered and defeated across the floor, with Shenya sitting calmly amidst the chaos. Shenya immediately plays the victim, tearfully claiming he was the one being bullied. The teacher is incredulous, pointing out that Shenya is unharmed while his attackers are incapacitated. In the crowd, a girl named Bingbing stares in disbelief, realizing her scheme has completely backfired. She's horrified, unable to comprehend how Shenya single-handedly defeated the group she sent after him. Her phone reveals a sent message confirming the plan, but now she can only wonder about his newfound power. A friend asks Bingbing if she regrets her actions, forcing her to confront her choices. She flashes back to a happier time with Shenya, wondering if their relationship could have been saved. Bingbing watches the bully get carried away, internally celebrating that Shenya's life is now ruined. She smugly believes that with her rival gone, her own future is now wide open. Trying to justify her actions, she tells her friend she only regrets not seeing Shenya for the loser he was sooner. Her satisfaction is cut short when she notices the defeated bully staring intently at her as he's wheeled past. She panics, realizing the boy's accusatory gaze could expose her as the mastermind behind the attack. Internally, she desperately pleads for him to keep his mouth shut and not drag her into the mess. Her mind races with fear, terrified that her carefully constructed plan is about to unravel. But her worst fear is realized as the bully weakly calls out her name, drawing everyone's attention. The entire crowd turns to stare, putting a horrified Bingbing directly in the spotlight. Overwhelmed by the sudden pressure and the weight of her actions, she finally breaks down in tears. Seizing the opportunity, Bingbing dramatically calls the police, attempting to frame Shenya for the entire incident. Shenya calmly recognizes her scheme to betray him as the instructor worries about the escalating chaos. The instructor takes charge, ordering the students away before summoning Shenya to the office. In another part of the school, the principal's sales pitch to a mysterious figure falls flat as the man deems the students unworthy. Their conversation is cut short by a panicked teacher reporting the fight, but the principal is initially unconcerned. She insists he watch a video, revealing Shenya had the foresight to record the entire incident. Both the principal and the visitors' casual demeanors shatter, their faces frozen in disbelief at what the video shows. The police are also stunned by the video evidence, which completely changes the context of the situation. Playing the victim, Shenya claims he recorded out of fear, a clever lie that the video evidence both supports and contradicts. The lead officer states that while the video is compelling, Shenya must still be taken in until a formal injury assessment is complete. The instructor frantically argues with the police, worried that taking Shenya will ruin his academic future. While the adults debate his fate, Shenya internally focuses on mastering his new stat-switching abilities. The principal arrives with the mysterious visitor, praising Shenya's cleverness in recording the fight. The visitor, identified as Mr. Qian, dismisses the fight, telling Shenya he's far superior to his attackers. Impressed by his restraint and perfect agility score, Mr. Qian hands Shenya a card, wanting a private conversation. Shenya examines the card, discovering the man is Qian Rushan, a regional director for the Human Martial Arts Group. This group is revealed to be a massive, futuristic organization that holds the keys to countless martial arts techniques. For an ordinary person, an invitation from this group is a golden ticket, a guaranteed path to power and prestige. Shenya senses an overwhelming aura from Qian, realizing the man's power is on a completely different level. Qian reveals a powerful AI has already assessed Shenya's strength and directly asks him to confirm the exact value. The principal realizes Shenya's newfound strength could be advantageous for him. Qian and the principal react with surprise to Shenya's confirmed strength stat. Mr. Qian explains the significance of a 5-strength stat, impressed by Shenya. He elaborates on the capabilities of someone with a 5-strength stat at Shenya's age. Mr. Qian offers Shenya a chance to join his group and undergo a strength retest. He explains the unusual circumstances allowing for a retest of Shenya's abilities. Shenya eagerly accepts Mr. Qian's offer to join the prestigious group. Mr. Qian casually inquires about Shenya's psychic power stat. Shenya strategically downplays his psychic power, claiming a score of 3. The principal and the instructor are shocked by Shenya's supposedly high psychic power. Mr. Qian challenges Shenya to prove his psychic power by moving a nearby chair. Shenya internally reallocates his stats, channeling a blue aura to perform the feat. Seeing this, the police captain abruptly orders his men to pack up and leave the scene. He explains that a talent with Shenya's stats is destined for greatness and beyond their authority. Shenya successfully levitates the chair, relieved that his bluff worked perfectly. Overjoyed by the display, Mr. Qian erupts in celebration, even breaking into a triumphant song. As the principal and instructor celebrate, Mr. Qian dismisses them to speak with Shenya privately. Once they are alone, Mr. Qian calmly lights a cigarette, his demeanor shifting. He exhales a cloud of smoke and asks Shenya a very personal question about his ultimate goal in life. Shenya cleverly claims his goal is to achieve a status like Mr. Qian's, but the director prods him for his true desire. Shenya confesses his true desire is to be strong enough to protect his family and never be a victim again. Impressed, Mr. Qian declares this is the first step toward that dream and invites Shenya to attack him. After a brief, cheeky insult, the director clarifies he wants a physical demonstration, not verbal sparring. Shenya quickly agrees, reallocating his stats to maximize his strength for the coming test. He unleashes a powerful punch, his fist glowing with a menacing red aura as he lunges forward. Mr. Qian's expression sharpens, his eyes tracking the attack with unnerving calm. Suddenly, Shenya finds himself frozen in place, unable to move as a strange energy crackles around him. The director reveals this is an immobilization technique and offers to teach the stunned student. As Shenya eagerly accepts, Mr. Qian warns him to pay attention before pulling a gun from his coat. The lesson takes a terrifying turn as Mr. Qian points the weapon directly at Shenya's face. In a terrifying lesson, Mr. Qian fires the gun right past his own head with unnerving calm. He explains to the horrified Shenya that this is a secret technique for blocking all projectiles. The bullet stops dead in the air, held by a psychic field so powerful it can deflect even sniper fire. Impressed by Shenya's quick thinking, the director formally invites him to join the Hidden Dragon Project. The project offers a chance to enter the world's top 3 high schools, but only after passing their unique and grueling entrance exam. Shenya learns this exam is typically monopolized by the children of elite noble families, making this a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Mr. Qian reveals these families possess ancient artifacts and bloodline legacies, reigning supreme over the common world. This information sparks a shocking realization, making Shenya wonder about his own grandfather's mysterious past. The director clarifies the project's goal is to find hidden talents like him and guarantees a spot in a top school even if he fails. Shenya finally understands the arrangement. The organization will build him up, and in return, he will one day work for them. With newfound resolve, Shenya accepts the invitation, fully embracing the world's rule of strength. He reflects on his family's painful past, banished from nobility and forced to struggle while his grandfather's family thrived. Mr. Qian presents a digital contract, telling Shenya to sign and provide a fingerprint to make it official. Taking the device, Shenya finally grasps the harsh truth his teachers always taught. Civilization endures by relying on the strong. Shenya immediately commits, earning praise from Mr. Qian, who then reminds him that a guardian's signature is still required. He agrees to take the director to his parents, as Mr. Qian grows anxious to finalize the contract before any rivals appear. Promising a swift return, Mr. Qian vanishes from the room in a blur of motion. He moves with such incredible speed that he's just a streak of motion down the empty school hallway. The principal and instructor cautiously peek out, asking for an update as Shenya stares in awe at the director's power. As the school staff erupts in celebration over the news, Shenya is suddenly interrupted by a call on his phone. Shenya answers the unexpected call from an unknown number, his expression wary. The caller is Sergeant Luo Feichuan, who summons him to the station with news about his case. At the station, the sergeant, sporting a cybernetic hand, gestures for Shenya to look at his screen. An indescribable, uneasy feeling washes over Shenya as he sits down in the police station. Luo reveals a photo from the day of the incident, showing a suspicious figure on a rooftop across from the hospital. Zooming in, Shenya sees a cocky-looking man with white hair but denies ever seeing him before. The sergeant's gaze hardens as he explains their experts believe the man was performing some kind of activation ritual. Luo's questioning turns personal, asking if Shenya was carrying anything out of the ordinary that day. In a flash of insight, Shenya connects the man to the cursed statue, realizing the police have no solid leads. Deciding to protect his secret, Shenya lies, knowing the truth about his survival would only complicate things. Sergeant Luo finds the story odd, pressing Shenya about any strange physical sensations during the incident. Shenya flatly denies everything, but internally realizes the sergeant's questions are far too specific. A deep sense of unease grows as he feels a dangerous energy lurking within the office, tied to the sergeant himself. To create a diversion, Shenya suddenly claims his backpack was mysteriously opened after he left school. The sergeant's eyes narrow, cutting straight to the point by asking if Shenya has checked inside the bag. Shenya admits he hasn't, his mind racing as he replays a subtle, threatening hand gesture from the officer. Sensing imminent danger, he secretly transfers all his stats into agility, preparing for a desperate escape. A green aura flares around his foot as he channels his newfound speed. He prepares a spatial escape route beneath him, ready to stomp and fall through the floor if the sergeant makes a move. The tense standoff is suddenly broken by the sharp ring of a phone, startling them both. Shenya sees the ringing phone as a perfect distraction and tries to excuse himself. The sergeant answers the call but orders Shenya to remain seated, his gaze unyielding. A chilling voice on the other end of the line delivers a death threat directly to the sergeant. Suddenly, a massive wave of red energy explodes from the sergeant, throwing the office into chaos. Shenya quickly understands the attack isn't for him, it's a targeted hit on the police officer. Enveloped in the strange energy, the sergeant recognizes the technique and scoffs at the attacker's audacity. The force of the attack intensifies, shattering the office window and sending the sergeant flying. Alarms blare throughout the station as an intruder alert warns everyone of the breach. Peering through the shattered window, Shenya is stunned to find the city replaced by a surreal, blood-red seascape. A man in a garish tracksuit stands atop a monument, declaring his intent for revenge against the sergeant for past deeds. Sergeant Luo stands in a hellish graveyard, calmly telling his approaching subordinates that he's a bit preoccupied. The tracksuit-wearing assailant declares that the only explanation he needs is the sergeant's life. Just as suddenly as it began, the illusion shatters, leaving a bewildered Shenya back in the trashed office. He peers out the broken window, realizing the sergeant and his attacker have vanished into that strange dimension. The unsettling feeling from before returns, and Shenya challenges the unseen presence haunting the room. A strange green light flares in his eyes as a new power awakens within him. A system notification reveals his necromantic ability. Murmurs of the Dark has activated, compelling a nearby spirit to answer him. A disembodied voice suddenly thanks him, sending a shiver down Shenya's spine. With his eyes still glowing, he whips around, demanding the speaker reveal themselves. He pinpoints the voice coming from a cabinet and is shocked to realize it sounds disturbingly familiar. A horrifying realization dawns on Shenya as the familiar voice's origin becomes terrifyingly clear. As the cabinet door creaks open, the disembodied voice mocks the fate of a hunter slain by his own prey. He recoils in shock, finding the real Sergeant Luo's lifeless body pinned inside the locker. The spirit of the fallen sergeant confirms that the white-haired man from the photo was his killer. Luo's ghost explains he was a special ops soldier, defeated and impersonated by a skilled assassin to lure Shenya. The assassin's goal was unknown, but the spirit believed he was searching for answers. A theory Shenya finds plausible. Shenya deduces the imposter wanted to know how he survived the cursed statue, then reports the imposter's strange disappearance. He recounts how the station was briefly engulfed by a surreal ocean before the imposter and his attacker vanished. The sergeant's spirit scoffs, correcting him that what he witnessed wasn't sorcery, but something called an anomaly. Luo's ghost explains that anomalies are incursions from other worlds, with the most devastating events being known as calamities. Shenya is stunned by this new information, demanding to know what a calamity is. The spirit explains that calamities are world-ending events caused by powerful monsters from other dimensions. Luo's ghost uses the destruction of Jiangnan City as an example, which Shenya recalls was officially blamed on an earthquake. The horrifying truth is revealed. Jiangnan was actually destroyed by a calamity, leaving no survivors among its 13 million people. The spirit warns that the anomaly was temporary, and the assassin who impersonated him will soon return. Realizing the imminent danger, Shenya receives urgent instructions to find a secure armory on the 3rd floor. He scrambles to write down an incredibly long and complex access code dictated by the spirit. With his last moments, the sergeant's ghost instructs him to report the truth to get protection before fading away completely. Clutching the vital information, Shenya stares at the empty locker, processing the ghost's final desperate plea. He finally understands the true dangers of his world, realizing that without strength, he is nothing but prey. Shenya holds the fallen sergeant's hat, deciding that exposing the killer now would be pointless. He reasons the assassin has accomplices and is too powerful, making his only option to follow Luo's final instructions. Gently closing the cabinet, he accepts that with his current strength, avenging the sergeant is impossible. The cabinet door clicks shut, hiding the grim truth from the rest of the station. Despite his weakness, his face hardens with resolve as he vows to get justice for Luo, no matter the cost. Clutching the precious note, he makes a silent promise to ensure the sergeant can rest in peace. A sharp knock at the door jolts him, as an officer outside summons him for a screening due to the anomaly. A police captain enters the room, ordering Shenya to come out for an immediate scan. The captain dismisses his subordinates, telling them he'll have a private word with Shenya and the sergeant. He offers a chilling reassurance, claiming Shenya is safe now that the sergeant was the one taken by the attack. The captain steps into the trashed office, his gaze fixed on the row of lockers. A grim, knowing expression settles on his face, hinting he's aware of the room's dark secret. He coldly asks Shenya if he was the one who dared to move the sergeant's body. A flashback shows the captain being effortlessly tossed aside during a previous failed operation. He remembers searching frantically for his target, only to find they had completely vanished. The shocking truth is revealed. The captain is a subordinate, being scorned by the white-haired assassin for his failure. Back in the present, the corrupt captain frames Shenya, issuing a citywide alert for his immediate capture. As he leaves, a station-wide announcement orders all personnel to assemble, creating a crucial diversion. The moment the room is clear, a sinister red energy appears, signaling the assassin's imminent return from the anomaly. Peeking from his hiding spot, Shenya confirms his worst fear. The killer has powerful allies deep within the police force. He considers hiding but rejects the idea, determined to bring the killers to justice. Deciding against escape, he climbs out the window, set on reaching the third floor and reporting the truth. With impressive agility, he leaps through another window, landing in an empty corridor. He sprints down the deserted hallway, his destination clear in his mind. Reaching the designated spot, he prepares to enter the complex code from the sergeant's note. Just as he begins, a voice from behind confirms that his movements have been heard. He turns in terror to find a police officer looming over him, demanding to know what he's doing. Thinking fast, he pretends to be studying, all while desperately trying to input the impossibly long code. The officer's expression darkens as he recognizes the panel connects directly to World Government HQ. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the officer lunges forward to stop him at any cost. Just as the officer attacks, Shenya summons a mysterious shadowy door, blocking the strike and stunning his pursuer. He realizes his life was just saved by the door's unique power, as a normal one would have been useless. The officer scoffs, unimpressed, and yanks his weapon free from the resilient barrier. He leaps forward again, bringing his blade down with deadly force on the vulnerable Shenya. But Shenya counters with another strange power, a swirling red shield that warps the space around him. Enraged by the unexpected resistance, the officer's face contorts with murderous intent. Shenya seizes the opening, using the door as a weapon to slam the officer against the wall. Pinned and wounded, the officer can only struggle in disbelief at the door's immense power. With his attacker neutralized, Shenya triumphantly enters the final digit of the complex code. The system accepts the code, activating a top-level AI that confirms all of Shenye's claims and dispatches elite backup. The AI announces the mobilization of District Manager Chen Rushan, who has been authorized for immediate termination. A 30-second countdown begins, but the wounded officer is confident he can eliminate Shenya and escape in time. Realizing his life is still in danger, Shenya summons his shadow door in a desperate bid to flee. The officer lunges, grabbing Shenya just as he reaches the portal, refusing to let his target get away. With the clock ticking down, the officer prepares to land a final, lethal strike on the trapped Shenya. In a blinding flash, a man in a long coat appears, striking the officer with devastating speed just as the countdown hits 1 second. Shenya is sent flying from the shockwave, witnessing the officer being utterly overwhelmed by the newcomer's power. The mysterious savior, Manager Chen, coolly states that the only true defense is an attack too fast to be seen. With the threat reduced to a mere stain on the wall, Shenya gives his rescuer an enthusiastic thumbs up. Now safe in a National Security Bureau office, Manager Chen questions Shenya about the complex passcode he used. Shenya reveals the sergeant knew he was being hunted by a sinister group called the Silent Church. Manager Chen lights a cigarette, grimly noting that Luo's strong sense of justice was probably his downfall. He discloses that the assassin is from the League of Assassins, but their powerful employer remains a mystery. Shenya correctly guesses the employer is wealthy, but Chen wonders why they're targeting a mere student. Confused, Shenya asks why the sergeant didn't use the powerful Kunlun AI to save himself. Chen clarifies that Kunlun is a top-tier government AI that only responds to special passcodes like the one Shenya used. The shocking truth is revealed. Sergeant Luo couldn't call for help because his main weapon had been secretly compromised. A colleague presents Luo's exosuit hand, explaining it was disabled by a virus planted deep within its system. The gauntlet suddenly powers on, proving it was sabotaged by an insider to fail Luo at the critical moment. Shenya finally understands the sergeant's last words, moved by the officer's unwavering dedication to justice. Shenya is struck by the tragic reality that the sergeant died without even a chance to fight back. Manager Chen officially welcomes Shenya to his team, preparing to impart his first lesson in their dangerous world. He offers a grim piece of wisdom. Humans with ill intentions are a far greater threat than any monster. Taking the lesson to heart, Shenya's expression hardens with newfound resolve. As Chen prepares to leave, Shenya asks about the fate of the assassin and the corrupt captain still inside the anomaly. Chen dismisses the question, explaining that specialized teams handle such unpredictable threats and they must leave immediately. He recounts a terrifying story of a skin-wearing creature that once destroyed half the city, justifying his extreme caution. A sudden, bright flash from the direction of the police station interrupts their conversation, startling Chen. Chen immediately makes a call, requesting an urgent background check on someone named Xiao Mengyu and her connection to Sergeant Luo. The information he receives over the phone is clearly shocking, as he realizes the situation has just become much more dire. Shenya wonders about the identity of Xiao Mengyu, sensing her connection to the late sergeant. His father interrupts, insisting Shenya must make a critical decision before proceeding, prompting Chen to give them space. In a private moment, his parents reveal a stunning secret. He is a descendant of the illustrious Sanjin Shen clan. Shenya recalls reading that his clan was one of the few to inherit divine powers and artifacts, confirming his extraordinary lineage. His mother recounts how his father, once a prodigy, was exiled from the family for choosing love over an arranged marriage. His father explains that Shenya's immense talent is their ticket back into the family, offering him access to unimaginable resources. His mother presents him with a life-altering choice: reclaim his prestigious heritage or forge his own path with the human martial arts group. Overwhelmed by the weight of his future, Shenya falls silent, contemplating the two paths before him. After a moment of reflection, he makes his choice, resolving to join the human martial arts group. His mother is stunned, questioning why he would turn his back on a life of guaranteed wealth and comfort. He explains that he doesn't want his parents to beg for his acceptance, confident he can forge his own path. His parents respect his choice, proud that their son has grown up, and his father leaves to inform manager Qian. Shenya recalls the cold rejection his family faced from his grandfather and the rest of the clan during their visits. He contrasts those bitter memories with the joy of playing with other children and the true family love he now understands. With the contract signed, Shenya officially joins the human martial arts group, choosing his new family over the cold-hearted clan. Qian informs them of Shenya's upcoming exams for prestigious schools, and Shenya eagerly commits to joining his team. The scene shifts to a hospital where a young woman waits impatiently in an empty hallway. She smirks while looking at her phone, satisfied that her video framing Shenya for the incident with Sun Ming is going viral. She sends a text confirming she's completed her mission to tarnish his name while preserving her own flawless reputation. She stands confidently, believing she has destroyed Shenya's future and secured her own path to becoming an untouchable figure. Just as she revels in her victory, an unexpected notification chimes on her phone. Her smug expression vanishes as she reads that her post has been removed for spreading misinformation, with threats of legal action. She reels in disbelief, unable to understand how Shenya was cleared, especially with the human martial arts group now involved. To her horror, the school is now publicly celebrating Shenya's new contract and his guaranteed admission into top schools. Her world crumbles as she collapses in the hallway, utterly defeated and questioning how Shenya achieved the impossible. Meanwhile, Shenya arrives at the impressive skyscraper headquarters of the human martial arts group. Inside an elevator, manager Qian ends a call, casually mentioning he earned merit points from the recent battle. Qian explains that merit points are a special currency for agents, but Shenya isn't yet eligible to earn them. However, a government notification surprises Shenya with a special reward for his significant contributions. As they arrive on their floor, Chen warns Shenya to lay low while he investigates the repeated attempts on his life. Chen confirms the online rumors against Shenya have been dealt with and welcomes him as an official member. A video message plays, featuring a celebrity named Xu Mulin, who warmly congratulates Shenya on his new position. She encourages him to strive for greatness and even offers him VIP tickets to her upcoming concert as a gift. Shenya is stunned into silence, realizing the message is from his all-time favorite celebrity. He then notices that everything in his new room, from the decor to the snacks, is tailored to his personal tastes. Stepping onto the balcony, he marvels at the lengths the group went to for a new recruit, understanding this is the prestige of power. From the 105th floor, he gazes at the breathtaking sunset over the city, inspired by the view from the top. With renewed determination, he vows to enter the nightmare realm again to grow stronger for his upcoming entrance exams. True to his word, a sinister, glowing door materializes before him, marking his entry into the nightmare realm. But as he steps through, he's greeted by a gruesome scene of carnage, leaving him horrified by what he finds. Realizing the danger could jeopardize his future, Shenya cautiously retreats from the gruesome scene. A faint voice calls his name from a pile of bones, revealing a familiar skeletal creature pleading for help. The creature, whom Shenya recognizes, desperately begs for a healing tonic, but Shenya has none to offer. As its spiritual light fades, the skeleton resigns itself to its fate, finding a dark humor in its demise. Deciding his skeletal trading partner is too valuable to lose, Shenya resolves to find a way to save him. 2 agonizing hours pass, and the creature, now named Fern, loses all hope, believing Shenya has abandoned it. Just as Fern gives up, Shenya returns through the portal, struggling with a large, unseen object. He reveals his solution, a massive tub filled with a pricey healing concoction he bought with his last coin. Before they can act, the very fabric of the nightmare realm around them begins to violently shatter. Fern reveals the shocking truth. Humans and elves are invading their undead stronghold, launching a full-scale assault. Panicked, Fern tosses Shenya a spatial ring, explaining he's too weak to fight and must hide immediately. Fern's spiritual form rushes towards the ring as Shenya stands by the portal, surrounded by the remnants of the battle. The ring glows as it absorbs Fern's essence, securing the skeletal creature inside the magical artifact. With Fern safe, Shenya quickly commands the Nightmare Realm portal to disperse just as it begins to violently implode. He leaps back onto his balcony just in time, narrowly avoiding the blast from the collapsing portal. Shenya confirms Fern is hiding in the ring, amused that his undead nature allows him to bypass the ring's normal limitations. He reminds Fern of the debt owed, admitting his suspicions about the skeleton's true identity, but choosing not to press the matter. Shenya then declares his intention to enter the battlefield, shocking Fern, who warns that his most powerful treasures have already been used up. While soaking in the healing tonic, Fern clarifies his role as a battlefield scavenger, admitting that the best loot is rarely left behind. Shenya devises a plan to infiltrate the undead stronghold in disguise and asks Fern for gear to mask his human aura. Fern obliges Shenya's request, conjuring a massive pile of discarded armor and weapons. Shenya scoffs at the pile of scrap, but Fern insists he can piece together a usable set from the battlefield remnants. After rummaging through the pile, Shenya manages to assemble a full suit of armor and finds a token to summon a skeletal warhorse. To complete the disguise, Fern presents a centurion mask, explaining it's the final piece Shenya needs. The mask is imbued with a powerful death aura, guaranteeing his human presence will remain hidden. With his transformation complete, Shenya now looks like a genuine undead warrior, ready to infiltrate the enemy ranks. He pictures himself riding a skeletal steed, amused by the idea of becoming a ghost rider to loot the battlefield. As he prepares to enter the portal, Fern desperately warns him that his death would mean they are both finished. Shenya coolly reassures the panicked skeleton that he will do his best to survive the ordeal. Stepping back into the nightmare realm, he finds himself in a desolate, war-torn landscape, the aftermath of the recent invasion. Shenya remembers an elven dagger he acquired, deciding to equip it for extra protection in this hostile land. While navigating a narrow passage, he is suddenly ambushed and pinned down by unseen assailants. His undead disguise proves a little too effective, as he finds himself surrounded by sharp, menacing blades. A squad of human soldiers, believing they've found a lost enemy, prepares to eliminate him on sight. In a panic, he rips off his mask, desperately trying to prove his humanity to the hostile soldiers. The squad leader, however, brands him a traitor for siding with the undead and raises his sword to strike. Shenya instinctively parries the powerful blow with his dagger, the clash of steel echoing through the rocks. The soldier freezes mid-attack, his eyes fixed on the blade, recognizing the legendary weapon Shenya holds. The dagger is identified as Nightshade, a sacred weapon that can only be wielded by humans with an untainted soul. His allegiance now proven, the leader helps Shenya to his feet and dismisses his men to continue their mission. The soldier offers assistance, making a hand gesture that leaves Shenya utterly baffled. Shenya comically misinterprets the gesture as a declaration of love, questioning the realm's forward customs. He quickly realizes the soldier is staring at his mask and connects the gesture to its hidden significance. Deciding to bluff his way through, Shenya hints at being in a bind, hoping the mask's status will grant him aid. To his shock, the bluff works perfectly, and the soldier immediately offers him a solo combat pack. Shenya accepts the gift and learns the soldier's name is Roman, promising to repay the favor. Their conversation is cut short as soldiers hastily clear a path for an approaching baron on horseback. The baron immediately accuses Roman of slacking, but Roman explains he was delayed by finding a scout. Despite Roman's defense of Shenya's dagger, the suspicious baron orders his arrest, demanding to know his mission. Shenya, now cloaked in shadow, coolly questions the baron's authority to interrogate him. The arrogant Baron Warren introduces himself and threatens to torture Shenya for his secrets. Unfazed, Shenya vows to remember the baron's name before summoning a portal with a single word. Enraged by the scout's audacity, the Baron screams for his men to eliminate him. As the soldiers charge, Shenya vanishes in a flash, leaving them to strike at empty air. The soldiers are left bewildered, their weapons hitting nothing but dirt as they search for their target. The Baron is stunned by the disappearing act, especially after his men confirm there's no escape route. Roman calmly speculates that Shenya might be one of the rumored nameless assassins who have joined the war. He then mockingly points out the Baron's foolishness in revealing his name to such a dangerous individual. The Baron breaks into a cold sweat, terrified by the thought of being hunted by an elite assassin. Panicked, the Baron quickly orders his troops to retreat, desperate to escape the unseen threat. Shenya tumbles out of a portal in his ceiling, making a swift escape back to his room. Annoyed, he blames Fern and his cursed mask for the near disaster, vowing to remember Baron Warren's name. Fern retorts from the ring, claiming ignorance of human military customs and reminding Shenya that he made it back safely. A system notification awards him another Green Quality One of Us title for his clever escape. The system reveals a special event. A third consecutive One of Us title will unlock a latent ability, but this is his only chance. He understands the immense pressure, realizing his next title will either grant him a new power or cost him the opportunity forever. Pondering how to meet the difficult conditions, his gaze falls upon the combat pack from Roman. He recalls the previous two instances, realizing he earned the title by turning enemies into allies in dire situations. Despite figuring out the key, he decides the risk is too great and prioritizes his survival over the potential power-up. His thoughts are suddenly cut short by an unexpected alert chiming in his room. The intercom chimes announcing a visitor for Shenya, who claims to be a relative of the late Luo Fei Chuan. Struck by the news, Shenya feels an undeniable obligation to meet the family of the man who died for him. He agrees to the meeting in the 50th floor lounge, hoping he can offer the family some form of assistance. On a moonlit balcony, he finds a striking woman with long purple hair who turns to acknowledge his arrival. Shenya approaches and confirms his identity, meeting her gaze. She introduces herself as Xiao Mengyu, Luo Feichuan's sister, her powerful aura revealing the title Great Swordsman. He's completely shocked, realizing she's the second person he's ever met who possesses a title. Shenya instantly understands she is the formidable figure who had manager Qian shaking in his boots. She explains her brother died after his weapon was sabotaged by two jealous classmates during a mission. With chilling calm, Xiao Mengyu reveals she has already exacted her revenge on them. Shenya is visibly stunned by her ice-cold confession. He confirms she dealt with all three culprits, awestruck by the casual power of a great swordsman. She reveals her brother had limited talent, and she had planned a simple, protected life for him. This contradicts everything Shenya heard, as she describes how her brother was ultimately betrayed. Noticing his silence, she challenges him, asking if he believes her revenge was unjustified. He nervously clarifies his concern wasn't for her victims, but for the potential consequences she might face. She scoffs at the idea, explaining that as a noble, avenging her family's honor is a right no one would dare challenge. With the assassins silenced and the trail cold, she explains why she can't find the mastermind. She finally reveals her true purpose, to find out who wants Shenya dead and eliminate them for him. Shenya insists he has no suspects, but she unsheathes her blade, declaring her vengeance is far from over. Xiao Mengyu vows to find the mastermind behind the assassination and eliminate everyone involved. Shenya is left speechless as her immense power streaks across the night sky. With a single invisible motion, she unleashes a slash that seemingly cuts the very clouds in half. He stares in utter disbelief, unable to process the sheer power that just split the sky. After her display of strength, she calmly asks Shenya to recall any potential enemies among the noble families. He insists he keeps a low profile and hasn't offended anyone, given his family's poor standing. A sudden memory of screams from his first attack gives them a new lead. There might have been witnesses. Promising to investigate, she gives him her contact information and departs into the night. Manager Qian appears, admitting he was terrified she had come to blame Shenya for her brother's fate. He then reveals a shocking truth. The monstrously powerful great swordsman is the same age as Shenya. Manager Qian explains the power gap is due to noble family secrets, but Shenya is simply relieved to have a great swordsman on his side. The reality of his situation hits him hard, as he realizes any noble could easily afford to have him permanently removed. Realizing he can't depend on others, he desperately asks Fern for a nightmare crystal to gain some much-needed offensive power. He holds up the glowing ring, pleading with the ancient spirit inside for a way to fight back. Fern shoots down his hopes, revealing his powers are useless to the living, and the last crystal was a one-off fluke. Frustration mounts as he realizes he's on a deadline, with both assassins and difficult exams closing in fast. A sudden spark of hope ignites as he remembers the untouched combat pack from Roman. He frantically empties the bag, tossing aside basic supplies in his desperate search for a hidden advantage. His search pays off as he pulls out a massive gleaming green nightmare crystal, his eyes widening in disbelief. Without hesitation, he crushes the crystal, absorbing a new ability that reveals a secret intel drop-off for the Shadow Hand Brotherhood. Shenya is disappointed the crystal only gave him intel, but Fern reveals Roman must have mistaken him for a fellow assassin. He realizes that since he's already earned a title today, he can't get another, making this a risk-free chance to explore. He hatches a plan to infiltrate the human army's outpost and asks Fern for a soldier's disguise. Fern equips him with the armor of a Rhine borderland soldier, complete with a distinctive fierce hound shield. The spirit also hands him a crystal token, explaining it's a distress signal from the Rhine Lord that will prove useful. Suspicious of Fern's sudden generosity, Shenya presses the spirit for the real reason behind his cooperation. Fern confesses he needs Shenya to acquire high-tier materials to heal him, a motive Shenya accepts as he steps into the portal. He emerges onto a grim battlefield under a crescent moon, surrounded by the aftermath of a brutal fight. A soldier desperately carries his injured comrade, calling out for aid from a nearby patrol. Blending into the grim scenery, Shenya observes the soldiers, noting their destination is a nearby base camp. Shenya cautiously hides, aware that any misstep could expose him to the patrolling soldiers. Seeing the battlefield littered with the fallen, he decides it's the perfect place to gather some intel. He uses his dark powers to reanimate a giant undead warrior, hoping to interrogate it. He presents a strange mask to the reanimated giant, but the creature offers no useful information. Letting the giant fall back into its eternal rest, Shenya moves on, continuing his grim investigation. He systematically questions the spirits of the dead, but each one fails to recognize the assassin's mask. Exhausted by the fruitless search, he slumps down, feeling like he's looking for a needle in a haystack. A sudden noise makes him whip his head around, alerted to a new presence nearby. A towering werewolf looms over him, but Shenya's mind immediately sparks with a brilliant idea. He holds the mask out to the beast, hoping its powerful sense of smell can finally give him a lead. The werewolf spirit identifies the mask's owner as a one-armed centurion before fading away. Shenya finds the centurion's severed arm, questioning if his powers can even work on a single limb. He attempts to reanimate the arm, channeling his dark energy into the lifeless hand. The arm suddenly springs to life, its fingers contorting into a specific hand sign. He instantly recognizes the Shadow Hand's signature gesture, confirming he's found his target. Before disintegrating, the reanimated arm points him towards a new location. Following the spectral direction, Shenya discovers a single abandoned boot on the battlefield. He picks up the foul-smelling boot, but his disgust turns to curiosity as he feels something hidden inside. Tipping it over, he finds a mysterious glowing insignia and a small note. This discovery unlocks a new item lore ability, identifying the trinket as a Night Shadow insignia, useless without its matching weapon. He wonders if the matching weapon is somewhere on this battlefield. He finds a dagger that begins to resonate with the insignia, glowing with a powerful aura. The insignia fuses with the blade, leveling it up from Nightshade to the powerful Nightfall. The new dagger marks him as a high-ranking Shadow Hand member, and he excitedly remembers the note he found. The note reveals a Shadow Hand mission: investigate unusual undead activity for a huge reward. He connects the dots, realizing Roman must be a fellow Shadow Hand member who gave him a tip. Thinking it'll be easy, he reanimates a fallen soldier to interrogate it about undead activity. He questions a whole group of reanimated soldiers, but the grunts know nothing of value. His plan hits a wall as he realizes the common soldiers are completely clueless. Just as he's about to give up, Fern unexpectedly offers to provide the intel he needs. Shenya questions Fern's loyalty, suspicious of an undead spirit selling out its own kind. The ancient spirit scoffs, revealing that the undead are his enemies, not his people. Remembering Fern's troubled past, Shenya listens as the spirit offers a choice between low-risk and high-stakes information. Opting for a safer route, he receives intel about the undead upgrading their soulfire cannons. He expresses concern that the information is too valuable, but Fern explains it's just the confirmation the humans need. Satisfied with the low-profile intel, he turns his focus back to infiltrating the human encampment. He gazes down at the sprawling military camp, plotting how to get inside and find the secret drop-off. Fern devises a brilliant plan to fake an injury, letting the human patrols unwittingly grant him access. While preparing his ruse, he learns that human healers can perform miracles for the right price. In stark contrast, Fern reveals the undead have no such luxury, usually leaving their wounded for dead. Fern explains the undead's brutal healing ritual, which involves a sacrificial altar to drain the life force of others. Shenya laments being broke, but Fern reveals he's secretly loaded, much to Shenya's delight. With his infiltration plan set, he stands before the corpse of a giant undead, ready to create his scene. He reallocates all his stats into strength, straining to lift the giant's enormous hammer as Fern watches in disbelief. He warns Fern to be ready to call for help if he can't, leaving the spirit utterly bewildered by his strange request. With a final heave, he lets the massive hammer fall, crushing himself beneath its immense weight. Pinned and injured, he steels his resolve, determined to perfectly execute his role as a wounded soldier. He begins banging on his shield, his voice echoing across the battlefield as he cries out for help. His desperate pleas are heard by a nearby patrol, whose soldiers immediately spot his location. Seeing the seemingly dire situation, the patrol rushes towards him, promising aid is on the way. A holy healer is brought in, enveloping Shenya in a powerful green light to mend his grievous wounds. He endures the intense healing process, his face contorting as the magic knits his broken body back together. The potent energy surges through him, completing the miraculous recovery in mere moments. With the healing done, the healer reports her success to a regal-looking man, who dismisses her with a promise of payment. Shenya awakens, feigning amnesia as the man, Prince Norton, assures him of his safety within the human camp. The prince questions him about the emblem on his shield, asking if he hails from the territory of Rhine. Playing his role perfectly, Shenya presents a glowing crystal, claiming it's an urgent message from his lord about an undead invasion. An elderly mage takes the crystal, using his own power to verify its contents and unlock the message within. The crystal projects a desperate plea from the Lord of Rhine, offering a massive reward for military aid against the undead. The mage confirms the message's authenticity, completely validating Shenya's fabricated story in the eyes of the prince. The prince confirms Shenya's identity, but reveals the devastating news that Rhine has already fallen. Shenya puts on a convincing performance, reacting with tearful disbelief to the tragic news. He collapses in feigned grief, his impressive acting completely fooling the sympathetic prince. The prince offers to send him to safety, seeing him as the last hope of his people. Internally, Shenya rejects the offer, determined to find the Shadow Hand tent and complete his mission. He boldly refuses to leave the battlefield, catching the prince completely off guard. Fueled by fake righteous fury, he demands to stay and fight for revenge against the undead. His passionate display captivates the prince's advisors, who watch with silent intrigue. Impressed by his bravery, the prince asks what special skill earned him such a vital mission. He boasts of his incredible speed, secretly using his system to reallocate all his stats into agility. He prepares to demonstrate his incredible speed for the prince and his advisors. Shenya bursts forward in a blur of motion, leaving the prince's guards completely stunned. He zips across the camp at an impossible pace, kicking up dust in his wake. The guards can only watch in disbelief as he streaks past them again on his return trip. In the blink of an eye, he stops directly in front of the astonished prince. Catching his breath, he asks if his display of speed is enough to earn him a spot on the front lines. The prince is thoroughly impressed, and an elven advisor offers to personally look after the promising young soldier. The elf approaches him, her attention suddenly drawn to a familiar-looking bracelet on his wrist. The prince recognizes the elven craftsmanship, prompting Shenya to explain it was a gift from an elf named Lainey. The elf touches the bracelet, which glows with green magic as she verifies its authenticity. The bracelet projects a hologram of Lainey, who is questioned by the elven archmage Eudoria about why a human possesses her item. Shenya cheerfully greets the projection, confirming his friendly connection to the elf Lainey, who seems delighted to see him. Eudoria demands an explanation, and Lainey reveals that Shenya is a hero who saved her village from an undead infiltration. With the call concluded, the magical projection dissipates as Eudoria releases Shenya's wrist. Fully convinced, Eudoria vouches for Shenya, suggesting to the prince that his skills and elven ties make him a valuable asset. The prince agrees, pleased by the rare elven endorsement, and orders his men to arrange for Shenya's official identification and stay. When asked for his name, Shenya realizes his cover is at risk and decides feigning amnesia is his only way forward. He suddenly collapses to his knees, clutching his head in a convincing display of agonizing pain. The elderly mage quickly diagnoses him with memory loss from his earlier injury, unknowingly providing the perfect excuse. The prince shows concern, telling the seemingly afflicted soldier to rest and recover, his identity no longer an immediate issue. The prince bids him farewell, bestowing upon him the moniker of a boy who has survived great disaster. This public recognition triggers a system notification, offering him the new self-created title, The Boy Who Lived. Internally, Shenya cringes at the embarrassing title and immediately seeks a way to discard it. The system explains he can either disappear from public view or act in a way that changes their perception of him. As he's led away, a soldier cheerfully uses his new nickname, much to Shenya's silent frustration. He asks Fern about the prince, learning Norton is the heir to the throne and the leader of the entire war effort. Meanwhile, Eudoria and the mage observe him from afar, with the elf noting her intrigue. The mage reveals he spotted a high-ranking shadow hand insignia on Shenya, confirming his extraordinary talent. The prince also recognized the dagger known as Nightfall and decides to nominate the promising young assassin for a medal. The scene focuses on a tent marked with crossed swords, the destination for this newly recognized soldier. Shenya finds the shadow hand tent, his true mission's destination. Inside, a bald man examines a bearskin, seemingly oblivious to Shenya's arrival. Shenya greets the man with the shadow hand's customary phrase. The bald man turns, intrigued by the newcomer and his greeting. Shenya offers valuable intel about the undead's artillery, stolen from their cannon. The bald man, impressed, asks what Shenya wants in return for the information. He presents a camouflage dagger coated with a potent poison. Shenya, unimpressed, asks if he has anything more practical. The bald man then shows him a special whistle, claiming it has battlefield utility. He blows the whistle, summoning a powerful warhorse from a hidden compartment. The horse immediately plays dead on command, leaving Shenya utterly baffled by the bizarre demonstration. Unimpressed, he questions if the useless items are a set and demands to see something better. The bald man, determined to win him over, presents a pair of special veil-piercing lenses. After explaining their unique properties, Shenya uses them to start a comical argument between two soldiers outside. Tiring of the games, he asks for nightmare crystals to learn new abilities, but the merchant only has 2 left. The first choice is a red crystal that grants bleeding, a skill causing persistent wounds. The second is a blue crystal for Frostwind, a powerful disarming kick, and Shenya greedily decides he needs both. A mysterious voice suddenly echoes in his mind, instructing him to choose the Frostwind crystal. He recognizes the voice as his enigmatic benefactor, the one who gave him the Nightshade dagger. Confused by the specific instruction, Shenya mentally questions his benefactor's choice. The voice reveals a grand plan. Combine Frostwind with other specific skills to unlock a powerful secret. Deciding to follow the mysterious instructions, he confirms his choice of the Frostwind crystal to the merchant. He crushes the crystal, absorbing its power as ethereal blue figures dance around him. The merchant acknowledges the intel was worth far more than the skill and offers further assistance. To balance the trade, the merchant hands him a heavy pouch of gold as payment for the valuable information. Wasting no time, he approaches an undead merchant to acquire the next piece of the puzzle, the Shadow Mirage spell. After a brief negotiation, he obtains the purple Shadow Mirage crystal, carefully hiding his ring to avoid suspicion. He immediately reallocates his stat points, perfectly meeting the agility and psychic energy requirements for the new spell. Needing a private place to test his new abilities, he ventures deep into the woods, aware of the danger if caught. He successfully casts the spell, creating a shadowy duplicate of himself to test its effectiveness. He unleashes the Shadow Mirage, conjuring a spectral duplicate that soars through the night sky. The shadowy clone proves short-lived, dissolving into magical essence moments after its creation. While his benefactor's voice scoffs at the spell's apparent weakness, Shenya remains unfazed. He internally reviews his progress, knowing this is just one piece of a much larger, more powerful puzzle. His private practice is interrupted by a soldier who insists on using his cringeworthy new title. The soldier delivers a message from the prince, presenting him with a medal of valor and a letter of recommendation. Playing the part of a loyal soldier, he accepts the honor and the instructions to report to the Imperial Military Academy. He calculates his new wealth, realizing the prince's reward combined with the Shadowhand's gold sets him up nicely. With his immediate goals achieved, he confidently departs from the woods, ready for the next stage of his journey. Suddenly, the fantasy landscape vanishes, replaced by the jarring sight of a modern skyscraper against a clear blue sky. A digital teller confirms Shenya's gold has been converted to yuan. Shenya thanks the teller and pockets his new debit card. His phone rings as he walks away, a call from a concerned family member. He explains the sudden wealth as earnings from the Human Martial Arts Group. Checking his phone, he's overwhelmed by the number of unread messages. Messages reveal his official acceptance into the Human Martial Arts Group. He reads an apologetic message from a girl named Zhao Yibing. He considers her offer of a movie, finding her attractive. He rejects her advance, prioritizing his mission over romance. A friend Haoyu congratulates him and suggests a celebration. His friend Haoyu messages him, begging for a tour of the Human Martial Arts Group headquarters. Seeing a perfect opportunity to celebrate, Shenya agrees and tells his friend to meet him in the lobby. While waiting in the massive modern lobby, he spots a crowd of peculiar individuals gathered nearby. He observes the group more closely, sensing an intimidating aura that sets them apart from everyone else. As he approaches, he deduces these must be the elite professionals he'd heard about. A massive bald man in the group senses his gaze and turns with a sharp, intense look. The imposing figure confronts Shenya, asking if he's one of this year's newbies. The man's expression softens as he recalls being just as awestruck when he first joined. He asks if Shenya aspires to be like them, only to receive a surprisingly blunt, "Nope." The man grins, admitting he once felt the same, seeing them only as arrogant rivals to be crushed. Shenya internally scoffs at the professionals, unimpressed by their arrogant display of power. The bald man's attention shifts to a striking woman in a wide-brimmed hat who has just arrived. He boldly asks the woman, Wenna, if she's free for dinner, catching Shenya by surprise. Wenna swiftly rejects him, pressing a pistol to his chin with a menacing threat. Lowering her weapon, she turns to Shenya and asks if she should let his friend, Chen Haoyu, through security. Shenya offers to get his friend himself, but Wenna insists on bringing Haoyu to him instead. She reveals her orders are to protect him, hinting that he's in some kind of trouble. A bit flustered by the special treatment, Shenya reluctantly agrees to wait. Moments later, his friend Haoyu arrives, completely overwhelmed by the grandeur of the headquarters. As Haoyu gushes about his friend's success, Shenya casually tells him he's welcome to visit any time. Shenya offers to take his friend to the cafeteria, but Haoyu is more interested in seeing his new living quarters. They step into the elevator, finding it packed with the same group of intimidating professionals from the lobby. When asked where he's headed, Shenya casually announces his room is on the 105th floor, stunning everyone present. As the elevator ascends, his phone vibrates with an urgent message that immediately captures his attention. The text from Xiao Mengyu reports a nurse who witnessed his hospital attack has gone missing, and an unidentified body was found. A follow-up message contains a video file, urging him to watch it immediately. Xiao Mengyu suspects the nurse was silenced because of him, as the video shows a mysterious figure in a hallway. The footage continues, prompting a full background check on everyone in Shenya's circle due to the threat. The video reveals the suspicious person's face, and Shenya is stunned to see it's his friend, Haoyu. The message details Haoyu's suspicious behavior at school just as the elevator dings, stopping at the 80th floor. Shenya processes the shocking revelation, realizing he was in the nightmare realm when Haoyu was searching for him. He glances at his friend, whose innocent demeanor only deepens the mystery of his suspicious actions. Haoyu's concerned question is interrupted by another text from Xiao Mengyu, urging extreme caution. The elevator doors open on the 105th floor, and an oblivious Haoyu rushes out, giddy with excitement. His friend sprints down the hall, eager for the tour, as Shenya calmly directs him to the room at the very end. As Haoyu excitedly points to the door, he believes he's found Shenya's new home. But his friendly facade shatters as his eyes glow red, and he lunges forward with a deadly purple energy attack. The surprise assault takes the form of a vicious kick, arcing through the air with lethal intent. The powerful blow lands squarely on Shenya's head, the impact sending a shockwave through him. Overwhelmed by the strange energy, his form begins to crack and dissolve under the force of the devastating strike. The imposter reels in disbelief, realizing he only struck an illusion and questioning Shenya's advanced skills. Suddenly, the real Shenya materializes behind him, wreathed in a chilling blue aura. With a swift counter, Shenya sends his attacker flying across the hall in a brilliant flash of light. A system window reveals he unlocked a new technique, Heaven-Shattering Frost Moon, granting him an illusory shadow and a speed boost. Now radiating with power, Shenya coldly demands to know the whereabouts of his real friend as his stats permanently increase. The bruised attacker cackles with glee, convinced his first strike was fatal as he prepares another attack. He leaps forward, vowing that Shenya will soon share his friend's grim fate. The imposter unleashes another vicious kick, channeling dark energy for a final blow. To the attacker's shock, Shenya casually deflects the powerful strike with his own foot. The guaranteed knockback from Shenya's skill activates, forcing the stunned imposter to stagger back against his will. Shenya realizes the imposter's weakness and draws a hidden weapon. He unleashes a rapid barrage of attacks, overwhelming the imposter. The imposter is shocked to discover Shenya was armed all along. Shenya fires warning shots, triggering an alarm throughout the building. The alarm blares, alerting the professionals to the disturbance on the 105th floor. Aerial security units are dispatched to investigate the gunshots. The imposter is suddenly struck by unseen forces. Wenna arrives on the scene, surprised by the rapid escalation. Wenna demands answers from the injured imposter. The imposter refuses to cooperate, choosing a drastic course of action. Wenna is furious that the imposter's perfect disguise fooled both her and the advanced security AI. Later in the morgue, an autopsy confirms the attacker was a ghost assassin, leaving no trace of his identity. Wenna formally apologizes to her superior for the massive security breach on her watch. A cloaked figure absolves her of blame, noting the imposter's flawless technique before dismissing the body as useless. As the others prepare to leave, Shenya announces he will remain in the morgue alone. The cloaked man agrees, sensing Shenya might have a way to uncover more information from the deceased. Once by himself, Shenya activates a dark power, commanding the dead imposter's spirit to rise and speak. The imposter's spirit jolts awake, shocked that Shenya possesses the rare ability to communicate with the dead. Even in death, the spirit remains defiant, refusing to reveal any of its secrets to Shenya. Shenya's own power source notes the spirit's unusual resistance, eagerly anticipating the consequences of its defiance. Shenya transports the defiant spirit to a hellish dimension, where it finds itself shackled to a massive stone slab. The spirit is horrified as shadowy tendrils erupt from the slab, binding it completely. Unseen forces unleash a torrent of fiery energy, engulfing the spirit in excruciating torment. Shenya watches impassively as his power consumes the spirit in a vortex of infernal flames. The intense flames reduce the spirit to a skeletal form, a grim testament to the power being used. The skeleton's form begins to regenerate, its eyes glowing with an eerie green light as it endures the ordeal. The spirit's original appearance returns, its face a mask of terror and disbelief at the psychological assault. Shenya's power source explains this is a special punishment for defiant souls, a 100-year burn that is only a warm-up. The system details an eternity of suffering, where millennia of torture feel real to the victim but pass in a flash for the caster. Broken by the mere taste of this endless torment, the spirit finally cracks, screaming its willingness to cooperate. Shenya brings the tormented spirit back to the morgue, its will completely shattered. His demonic power source chuckles, noting that their captive is finally ready to talk. With his phone recording, Shenya coldly commands the broken spirit to reveal everything it knows. The story flashes back to a few minutes earlier, shifting focus to the girls' dormitory rooftop. Xiaomengyu texts a mysterious Mr. Han, reporting her failure to manipulate Shenya. Mr. Han summons her to a hotel, leaving her visibly distressed and uncertain about the meeting. Her mood instantly brightens upon receiving a call with news of her acceptance into an elite program.
Believing Mr. Han is her benefactor, she tearfully confirms she will attend the meeting.
A mysterious woman with purple hair suddenly confronts her, demanding to see her phone. The startled girl lashes out, but the sword-wielding woman remains unfazed, asserting her authority. Xiaomengyu stares in horror as the mysterious woman's blade hovers inches from her face. The woman, Zhao Yibing, makes a chilling threat, demanding the phone or else. In a desperate act of defiance, Xiaomengyu throws her phone, only for Zhao Yibing to snatch it from the air. Zhao Yibing answers a call from Shenya, who informs her that he's currently interrogating a captured assassin. Hearing Shenya's name, a horrified Xiaomengyu realizes this woman is here for revenge on his behalf. Back in the morgue, the broken spirit begins its confession, revealing a contract from the League of Assassins to eliminate Shen Ye. The spirit recounts their failed hospital plot, where they impersonated Shen Ye's friend to lure him into a trap he unexpectedly survived. It continues, explaining how they then targeted a police officer connected to Shen Ye, impersonating him for their next attempt. As the spirit reveals Chen Haoyu's body is in the school sewers, a voice on Shen Ye's phone confirms a body has just been found there. The devastating confirmation sends a shockwave through Shen Ye, his grip tightening until his phone screen shatters. Undeterred by the news of his friend, Shen Ye coldly demands to know who hired the assassin. He commands the terrified spirit to reveal the mastermind behind the contract. The spirit confesses that only the operations leader holds the complete details of the mission. Shen Ye immediately demands the leader's name and current whereabouts. The spirit identifies the leader as the Skinner, a master of disguise hiding at the Maplewood Hotel to silence a key witness. Shen Ye probes for weaknesses, but the spirit claims the Skinner is an unfathomably powerful foe with no known vulnerabilities. The spirit explains that the Skinner's pride prevents him from personally targeting a student, viewing the job as a mere favor to the client. Pressing for any identifying information, Shen Ye learns the Skinner has one very peculiar hobby. The spirit reveals the Skinner's grotesque and inhuman habit, a detail that visibly startles both Shen Ye and Zhao Yibing. Vowing to pay the Skinner a visit, Zhao Yibing abruptly ends the call, leaving Shen Ye unable to warn her about Xiao Mengyu's involvement. The spirit gleefully reveals the Skinner's disturbing preference for young women, implying Zhao Yibing is walking into a deadly trap. Enraged by the taunt, Shen Ye delivers a vicious punch that shatters the spirit's jaw. The impact sends the spirit's form flying across the room, its body contorting unnaturally. With the interrogation over, Shen Ye coldly commands the spirit to dissipate, its purpose served. The scene shifts to the grand and imposing Maplewood Hotel, where the assassin leader is hiding. Inside, a man meticulously cuts into what appears to be an extremely rare cut of meat. The man, revealed to be the Skinner, dines by candlelight with a silent female companion. He calmly critiques his meal's texture, then apologizes to his guest for the stress of their hideout. The Skinner then sips a blood-red drink, praising its artistry and complex flavor profile. His companion is a terrified nurse, and her plate reveals the gruesome, inhuman source of the Skinner's gourmet meal. The Skinner's grotesque meal is interrupted by a buzzing phone, cutting short his sinister intentions. Annoyed, he checks a message from a Mr. Han, who is ordering him to personally take care of the target. Learning 3 assassins have already failed, the Skinner realizes his target is far from ordinary and begins to negotiate his price. He initially scoffs at the offer of a girl as payment, boasting about his incredibly high standards. Mr. Han sends over pictures of the proposed reward, revealing the face of an innocent-looking young woman. The Skinner's eyes widen in shock and delight, completely captivated by the images on his screen. Overcome with a disturbing excitement, he reacts ecstatically to the sight of his new, innocent lamb. Lost in a bizarre fantasy, he eagerly accepts the mission, motivated by the promise of meeting this girl. Snapping back to reality, he checks his watch and declares he must prepare for the perfect rendezvous. He meticulously plans his preparations, obsessed with being perfectly groomed to fully appreciate the encounter. The Skinner suddenly remembers something important. He turns away from his gruesome dinner, a new thought on his mind. The Skinner coldly informs the nurse their association is over. He uses his abilities to end the nurse's life swiftly and discreetly. Back with Shen Ye, he undergoes an identity verification process. Shen Ye speaks a passphrase activating a hidden mechanism. A futuristic motorcycle materializes before him. Shen Ye marvels at the advanced vehicle that has appeared. His demonic power source explains the bike's impressive features. Shen Ye learns the motorcycle can even fly, adding to its appeal. Shen Ye is amazed to discover the bike also features advanced chameleon tech, allowing it to change colors on command. Despite the impressive ride, he admits he was hoping for a martial arts manual, but learns the bike is a sign of how much danger he's in. He's told the bike's missile-like jet mode is for life-or-death escapes, prompting him to question if Kunlun knows who his enemy is. The man clarifies that Kunlun prioritizes humanity's survival over individual conflicts and won't help further unless Shen Ye proves his value. This harsh truth makes Shen Ye think of his fallen friends, and his thoughts turn to Xiao Mengyu, fearing she might encounter the Skinner. For his protection, Shen Ye is ordered to stay in a lockdown facility overnight, with top security arranged for his exam the next day. The scene shifts to a moonlit path, where two figures are walking towards an unknown destination. It's revealed to be Zhao Yibing, who is forcefully escorting a very reluctant Xiao Mengyu towards a large manor. With Xiao Mengyu in tow, Zhao Yibing worries about how Mr. Han will react to her bringing an unexpected guest. As she approaches the building, Zhao Yibing's sharp senses detect a faint but undeniable killing intent lurking within. Xiao Mengyu confesses she was bribed by an online contact to sabotage Shen Ye in exchange for a spot at an elite school. She taunts Zhao Yibing about the mission's failure, but Zhao Yibing reminds her who is truly in danger. Zhao Yibing coldly reflects that Xiao Mengyu is just a pawn, completely unaware she's walking into a deadly trap. She gives Xiao Mengyu two options: hide and become a witness, or walk away and forget they ever met. With a defiant huff, Xiao Mengyu rejects the offer and runs towards the manor to meet her mysterious benefactor. As Xiao Mengyu disappears inside, Zhao Yibing prepares for the confrontation, her hand resting on her glowing sword. A sinister-looking butler greets Xiao Mengyu at the entrance, his presence setting an ominous tone. From the shadows, the true host of the manor finally reveals himself, observing his guest. The man, Mr. Han, charms Xiao Mengyu with a rose and grand promises of a fully funded education. Completely smitten, Xiao Mengyu finds him far more personable than his online persona, though she remains concerned about her failed mission. Mr. Han dismisses her fears of retaliation, promising to protect her from Shen Ye, which puts Xiao Mengyu at ease. A sudden chilling gust of wind filled with a strange blue energy envelops them, catching Xiao Mengyu by surprise. Feeling the intense cold, she instinctively moves closer to Mr. Han for warmth. As she clings to his arm, ethereal swords materialize from the wind, all pointing directly at Mr. Han. Unfazed, he calmly warns her of the danger, having sensed the powerful sword intent aimed at him from outside. Aware that he's being targeted, Mr. Han accelerates his plans, making Xiao Mengyu an offer she can't refuse, a recommendation to the world's top 3 schools. He presents this life-changing opportunity as they stand before the imposing manor, leaving her speechless. Xiao Mengyu is completely swept away, imagining a future of prestige and power far beyond her wildest dreams. Mr. Han explains he possesses a special access code from Kunlun, a reward for a past achievement that allows him to nominate a successor for the elite school's exam. He declares that spot now belongs to her, urging her to register her details immediately, while promising to personally ensure she becomes strong enough. A message confirms Zhao Yibing's eligibility, but it's Xiao Mengyu who reads it, completely fooled by the name swap. Overjoyed, she embraces Mr. Han, oblivious to the approaching sword intent and him calling her by another's name. He gently caresses her face, savoring her blissful ignorance as she confirms her happiness. His charming facade suddenly drops, revealing a cold, predatory gaze as he prepares for the harvest. With tears of joy streaming down her face, Xiao Mengyu is completely lost in the moment, unaware of her impending doom. Mr. Han seals her fate with a kiss, enveloping them both in a sinister crimson aura. He pulls away, revealing a transformed Xiao Mengyu, her will now completely his to command. With his new puppet floating behind him, he theatrically declares the creation of his perfect masterpiece. He kneels in adoration, mesmerized by his work, praising her as a perfect being frozen at the peak of her bloom. Just as he celebrates his victory, a brilliant blue sword of energy finally cuts through the air, aimed to strike. Mr. Han relishes his impending victory over Xiao Mengyu. A powerful blue energy explodes from outside the manor. Zhao Yibing bursts into the manor, her sword drawn. Zhao Yibing realizes she might be too late to save Xiao Mengyu. Zhao Yibing is shocked by Mr. Han's depravity. Mr. Han claims Xiao Mengyu as his own. Zhao Yibing prepares to defend Xiao Mengyu. Mr. Han tries to shield Xiao Mengyu with a strange energy. Mr. Han begs Zhao Yibing not to harm Xiao Mengyu. Zhao Yibing demands to know who hired her. Mr. Han reveals his trap, boasting that his unbreakable silk threads have already surrounded her. He offers to spare her life out of respect for her family, but only if she surrenders his new puppet. Unimpressed, Zhao Yibing channels immense energy into her sword, ready to challenge his claim. With a steely gaze, she wonders aloud if his puppet can withstand her blade's power. Mr. Han's confident demeanor shatters, replaced by tears of utter despair. He collapses into a dramatic monologue, mourning the loss of his perfect masterpiece. His despair twists into a new, depraved idea as he considers consuming Xiao Mengyu instead. His grief turns to pure rage, and he decides to destroy both women completely. Zhao Yibing realizes that simple threats won't be enough to break the crazed assassin's will. Changing tactics, she calmly proposes a deal to the unhinged man. She offers an insane bargain, his puppet and her own life in exchange for the name of his client. Enraged, he scoffs at her deal, confident he can just take her life by force. Zhao Yibing calmly reminds him of her strength, warning that even in defeat she could deny him his prize. Her audacious proposal leaves the assassin momentarily speechless, his dark aura wavering. Dropping his monstrous facade, he questions the sincerity of her unbelievable offer. She stands her ground, confirming her absolute resolve within his web of deadly threads. He finds the situation amusing, weighing her offer against the assassin's code that demands loyalty. With a piercing gaze, she probes his weakness, asking if he's afraid of breaking the rules. He theatrically declares his devotion, now completely infatuated with her as his new target of affection. Her cold threats only fuel his twisted delight, as he now sees her as another perfect work of art to possess. The assassin agrees to the deal, promising to reveal the client's name after securing his puppet. Meanwhile, Shenya sits alone on a rooftop, lost in thought under a stormy sky. He grows increasingly worried, realizing Xiao Mengyu hasn't answered his calls and is likely in grave danger. His skull companion bluntly states that Xiao Mengyu is doomed and trying to help would be suicide. The skull dismisses her impressive sword skills, explaining the assassin's experience and cursed power are on another level. The grim reality sets in, and Shenya finally accepts the severity of her situation. He's racked with guilt, recalling the trail of bodies left in his pursuit of the truth. He remembers Zhao Yibing, the last person still fighting relentlessly for their cause. His resolve hardens as a sudden phone call breaks his train of thought. Answering the unknown number, he confirms his identity to the mysterious caller on the other end. The mysterious caller is a young girl relaying a desperate message from her mother. He instantly recognizes her as the daughter of the nurse who witnessed his ghostly encounter. Learning the nurse has vanished near the Maplewood Hotel, he springs into action, telling the girl to call for help. Despite his companion's warning of a trap, Shenya feels responsible and prepares to head out. He arms himself, confident in his escape abilities even as his skull companion frets about the danger. Shenya understands that to get answers from the assassins, he must confront them directly and rely on his own power. His companion points out the futility of his plan, as the entire floor has been sealed off. Standing on the rooftop ledge, he prepares for a daring escape by reallocating all his power into agility. As green energy surges around him, his companion warns that even with enhanced stats, the jump is suicide. He calmly accepts the risk, believing the stormy night will conceal his movements for a necessary mission. Ignoring his companion's protests, Shenya leaps from the skyscraper's edge into the stormy night. He plummets through the howling wind, his expression calm and focused despite the incredible danger. As the city lights rush up to meet him, his skull companion panics at the seemingly suicidal dive. The skull furiously threatens to use necromancy on him if he dies, while Shenya continues his controlled descent. To his companion's astonishment, Shenya summons a glowing red door midair and kicks off it. He masterfully repeats the maneuver, creating a series of ethereal platforms to navigate down the building's face. Each summoned door serves as a temporary foothold before disappearing into the night as he continues his descent. His plan is revealed, using the nightmare realm to create platforms and safely control his fall from an impossible height. With a final burst of energy, he executes a perfect landing on the ground below, his risky gambit a success. The skull calls him insane, but Shenya brushes off the comment, telling his companion to get ready for the mission ahead. Shenya tears through the city streets on a powerful red motorcycle, leaving a trail of energy in his wake. He recites a deadly mantra as his bike system confirms his identity with a password verification. He blazes down the empty roads at incredible speed, a solitary figure on a desperate mission. Arriving on the west side of the city, he pulls up to the location the young girl mentioned. He dismounts and calls out, finding the small girl who confirms she was the one who contacted him. The terrified child asks for his help, explaining that she can't reach her mother at all. After learning the girl's call to the police went unanswered, Shenya tries calling them himself. His own call also fails to connect, deepening the mystery as the girl desperately asks if her mother is still alive. Learning the girl is alone and too frightened to check her mother's room, he decides to get her to safety first. He instructs his intelligent motorcycle, Ghostfire, to escort the girl to a secure tower before returning for him. He comforts the frightened girl, assuring her that the place he's sending her is completely safe. Shenya promises to find her mother and return for her, instructing her to wait at the Human Martial Arts Group tower. With tears welling in her eyes, the little girl reluctantly agrees to his plan. As the bike speeds away, his companion scoffs at his decision, calling the girl a useless distraction. Shenya retorts that he's responsible for her mother's predicament, but the skull dismisses his compassion as a weakness. He finally notices the eerie silence of the neighborhood, a detail his companion points out he should have seen sooner. The skull reveals a terrifying truth. Besides the girl, there hasn't been a single spark of life on the entire street. The weight of this revelation hits him as he stands alone in the desolate, empty street. His senses sharpen as he realizes the entire area is a carefully prepared trap. The distant sounds of a fierce battle from the Maplewood Hotel confirm his fears, forcing him to act immediately. Shenya sprints towards the ominous hotel, instructing his companion to act as his lookout. He steps into a grand, opulent lobby that is unnervingly deserted and silent. A receptionist greets him with a placid smile, but his skull companion immediately warns him that she is already dead. He recoils in shock, demanding to know how she can be standing there while preparing for an attack. The reanimated receptionist explains her master ended their lives for aesthetics and now controls their souls with magical threads. When asked why she isn't attacking, she reveals their master is too busy fighting a powerful foe to issue new orders. He questions how many others are like her, and she chillingly confirms that everyone met the same fate. Her face glitches horrifically as she clarifies that every single person in the entire city block is dead. The staggering scale of the massacre leaves Shenya completely stunned and horrified. As the battle rages on the roof, his companion senses an opportunity, urging him to find room 707 now. Wasting no time, Shenya sprints down the hotel corridor, leaving the reanimated receptionist behind. He quickly locates his target, room 707, and prepares to enter. He forcefully kicks the door open, only to be met with a sight that freezes him in his tracks. Inside, a grotesque scene unfolds, with countless victims tangled in the puppeteer's crimson threads. Overwhelmed by the scale of the slaughter, he uses his powers to communicate with the lingering souls, desperate for answers. The tormented spirits respond, confirming his worst fears. They are all dead, and none of them made it out. Suddenly, one of the spirits recognizes him, her voice cutting through the chorus of the dead to call him by name. He realizes with dawning horror that it's the nurse, who recalls seeing him during her fateful encounter with the ghost. Stricken with guilt, he apologizes for leading the killers to her, but her spirit absolves him of blame. With her last ounce of will, she and the other victims make a final, desperate plea for him to avenge them all. Filled with resolve, Shenya swears to the spirits that he will avenge them and protect the nurse's daughter. The nurse's spirit reacts with confusion, her glowing eyes questioning his words about a daughter. He confirms that the little girl who contacted him was indeed her child, providing a final piece of clarity. The moment of connection is shattered as the entire hotel is rocked by a powerful, unseen force. A massive explosion tears through the building's exterior, signaling an attack from a third party. Caught in the blast, Shenya braces himself as his companion notes the attack came from a different direction than the rooftop battle. The skull detects a faint life force plummeting from above, right towards their location. A body hurtles through the collapsing structure, its identity hidden by the chaos. Hearing a familiar voice, Shenya instantly realizes who is falling from the sky. He springs forward, catching the wounded Xiao Mengyu in midair as she falls from the battle above. Xiao Mengyu stares in disbelief, questioning why he suddenly appeared in the middle of her fight. As they plummet, he declares he's here to save her, but she inwardly scoffs at his seemingly weak power. She internally fumes, revealing his rescue has just ruined her carefully laid trap for the enemy. Despite the major setback, she calmly begins to formulate a backup plan. Without warning, Shenya strikes her with a decisive glowing chop to the neck. A system alert confirms he's maxed out his strength, intending to knock the powerful swordsman unconscious. Stunned by his sudden action, Xiao Mengyu begins to lose consciousness from the blow. He apologizes for his actions, explaining he must protect his secrets as he summons a mysterious portal beneath them. The enemy lands moments later, only to find the area empty, and wonders where his prey has gone. A sinister grin spreads across the villain's face, clearly enjoying the prospect of a hunt. The villain taunts his vanished prey, revealing his control over the hotel and initiating a deadly countdown. Meanwhile, Shenya and the unconscious Xiao Mengyu safely arrive in his personal domain through the portal. His companion urges him to find armor for Xiao Mengyu, but Shenya defensively insists he's a professional, not a mere scavenger. The Skull Companion dutifully searches their strange, barren territory for suitable equipment. He's left utterly speechless when his companion returns with a surprisingly revealing, Holy Bunny battlesuit. Shenya demands an explanation for the bizarre choice of armor, questioning how it was even found on a battlefield. Carrying the injured woman, he rushes toward a nearby encampment, hearing desperate cries for a healer. The camp's inhabitants immediately recognize him, much to his chagrin, by his now infamous title. They lay her down, noting her powerful aura, and concluding her unusual attire signifies a high-ranking warrior in need of rare healing. Desperate to save her, Shenya offers a hefty bag of gold given to him by the prince, praying it will cover the cost of her treatment. The healers recognize the gold as his tuition from the prince, leaving Shenya surprised by their knowledge. They point out the royal insignia, explaining that the pouch itself is a valuable treasure. He frantically demands they take all of it, desperate for them to heal her before she succumbs to her injuries. Moved by his selfless plea, the entire group of healers agrees and begins channeling their energy. Watching them work, he feels a moment of genuine admiration for their collective effort. A system notification explains that after his fame faded, this heroic act has instantly made him a legend again. It specifies he paid thousands of times the normal cost, using priceless royal gold to save one person. The system concludes that his noble generosity has cemented his unwanted title, the boy who lived. He stares in absolute horror, realizing the catastrophic social consequences of his impulsive decision. The healers, blushing with admiration, cheerfully announce the healing is complete, addressing him by his famous title. The lead healer enthusiastically confirms that her recovery is fantastic and she should be awake in minutes. As Shenya carries her away, his companion notes her powerful life force, while the healers cheerily bid him farewell. He rushes off, determined to return to the main world before she wakes, leaving the onlookers to gossip about his romantic gesture. Back in the ruined hotel, Xiao Mengyu finally awakens, finding Shenya waiting for her. She immediately springs to her feet, pressing her sword to his neck and demanding to know what he did. He calmly explains he used a special healing technique that only works when the patient is unconscious. Checking herself in disbelief, she realizes her once fatal wounds have completely vanished. She lowers her sword, admitting she misjudged him, and he asks if she's ready to fight their approaching enemy. His expression turns serious as she affirms her readiness for the imminent battle. A golden aura envelops her as a system window reveals a massive power-up, and she declares she's never felt stronger. Shenya questions her new Holy Guardian title, suspecting the healing session granted her a special buff. He asks her to uncover the mastermind's identity, but she confidently states she already knows who it is. Before she can answer, the villain's voice booms through the hall, announcing he has finally found them. A sinister figure materializes from dark energy, recognizing Shenya and remarking on the pleasant coincidence. Xiao Mengyu advises him to flee unless he has hidden combat skills, secretly wondering if she underestimated him. He comically agrees that a battle this big is out of his league, wishing her luck as he dashes for cover. She watches him go, left momentarily speechless by his swift and shameless retreat. The villain taunts her for staying, deducing that Shenya's only talent lies in healing. Ignoring the taunt, she unleashes her full power, swinging her glowing blade in a powerful arc. The villain stands his ground, calmly watching as her devastating attack descends upon him. Her empowered strike tears through the hall, a golden wave of destruction far exceeding her previous limits. The attack erupts through the building, a colossal pillar of light and debris shattering the structure. As the dust settles, she finds the area empty, believing her overwhelming attack was successful. But the villain emerges from the smoke, barely scratched and utterly baffled by her miraculous recovery. She stares in disbelief, shocked that her ultimate attack was somehow completely evaded. The villain connects the dots, deducing Shenya not only healed her but also foiled his previous plans. Instead of fear, the villain is overcome with a twisted excitement, thrilled by her unexpected strength. With a crazed look, he lunges forward, eager to continue their deadly dance. The scene shifts back to the quiet encampment where the healers reside under the night sky. The healers gossip about Shenya's incredible generosity, with one beginning to feel guilty for taking all the royal gold. The lead healer smugly reveals he returned most of the gold, slipping it into her suit while also granting her a strength blessing. This revelation sends the entire group of healers into a state of collective shock. Following his lead, The other healers confess they each bestowed their own unique blessings upon her as well. The group realizes in dawning horror that their combined generosity has created the highest level amplification spell. This ultimate combination creates the Holy Guardian buff, doubling the power of all blessings for 3 hours. Panic sets in as one healer points out this powerful spell is reserved for royalty, and their unauthorized use is a serious crime. The leader smoothly reframes their blunder as a gesture of friendship to the famous hero, privately hoping Shenya won't expose them. The battle rages on as Xiao Mengyu expertly deflects a furious storm of razor-sharp threads with her sword. Her movements are a blur as she weaves through the increasingly dense and deadly web of attacks. She stares in shock, questioning how the villain's attacks have suddenly doubled in power, while a strange rustling sound hints at the source. She skillfully parries the crimson threads, her eyes locking onto their mysterious origin point. With a decisive swing, she slices through the wall, determined to expose the source of the attack. The wall crumbles away, revealing a horrifying tapestry of tormented faces trapped within the structure. The villain's cold, calculating gaze confirms he is the puppet master behind this grim display. He casually remarks that she has discovered the gruesome gift he prepared just for her. With a look of twisted ecstasy, he urges her to listen to the chorus of suffering he has orchestrated. Kneeling amidst the chaos, he disturbingly refers to the screams of the damned as their wedding song. A system notification reveals the name of his terrifying power, the Blood Fiend's eternal curse. Meanwhile, Shenya's companion frantically tells him they need to escape the collapsing building immediately. But Shenya ignores the plea, charging deeper into danger, convinced he's on the verge of a breakthrough. His companion panics, realizing the villain is powering up with a dark curse and urging Shenya to run for his life. Shenya agrees he's outmatched but reveals he has a backup plan, leaving his companion utterly confused. He smashes through a nearby door, triumphantly declaring he's found exactly what he needs. Inside, he finds a simple computer station, leaving his companion to wonder about its purpose. With a grim look, Shenya prepares to use the equipment, hinting at a plan that terrifies his small friend. Meanwhile, the villain orchestrates his attack through a device, drawing more power from the Wall of Suffering Souls. He then unleashes a massive torrent of crimson threads, attempting to ensnare Xiao Mengyu completely. Undaunted, her reflection in her sword reveals a look of intense concentration as she prepares her counter. She unleashes a brilliant arc of energy, her glowing blade carving a path through the crimson onslaught. Yet, as the threads part, her eyes widen in shock at an unexpected sight. Her sword becomes hopelessly entangled in the crimson threads, leaving her momentarily trapped. The villain closes the distance in an instant, kneeling before her to place a cursed ring on her finger. Unfazed, she reveals a hidden trick, unsheathing a second, smaller blade from within the hilt of her trapped sword. With a burst of speed, she thrusts the hidden blade forward, aiming a decisive strike at her stunned opponent. Her surprise attack finds its mark, piercing the villain's head as he registers the hidden weapon too late. But the fatal wound instantly heals as he declares his invincibility, fueled by the power of his endless curses. He turns away dismissively, confident that her fate is sealed and savoring her futile struggle against him. She defiantly rejects his proclamation, readying her blades for the next phase of their battle. Focusing her energy, she grips both swords, channeling her power into the smaller, free blade. She unleashes a powerful spinning attack, swinging both swords in a dazzling, dual-colored arc of energy. The villain's eyes widen in recognition as he identifies her powerful technique. He marvels at her mastery of a legendary twin-blade style, deeming her worthy of his attention. She rejects his twisted praise with a look of pure defiance, focusing on her final attack. With a powerful downward thrust, she drives her glowing blade towards the heart of the crimson energy. The villain grins with manic glee, eagerly anticipating the clash of their powers. He performs a dark ritual, sacrificing the souls of the dead to summon a terrifying entity. She watches in horror, realizing he has just unleashed an even greater threat. A monstrous shadow with countless red eyes emerges, preparing to engulf her completely. The summoned beast looms over the battlefield, a terrifying manifestation of his ultimate curse. Trapped with no time to dodge, she steels her resolve for the incoming demonic assault. Meanwhile, Shenya grabs a microphone, addressing an unseen audience like a rock star. His voice seemingly travels through the curse, startling both the villain and Xiao Mengyu. In response, the tormented souls in the wall shriek, their eyes blazing with an eerie green energy. The feedback loop overwhelms the villain, channeling the amplified agony of the murmur of the judiciary directly into him. The villain reels in shock, realizing his own curse has been completely disrupted. Capitalizing on his distraction, she closes the distance instantly, her blade poised to strike. With a mighty swing, she unleashes a brilliant sphere of dual-colored energy, engulfing the area. Her attack connects perfectly, blasting a hole straight through the villain's torso. She stands confidently over his disintegrating body, certain of her victory. Her moment of triumph is cut short as a chilling voice declares she is mistaken. The villain defiantly declares his immortality, his body regenerating amidst a storm of dark energy. She stares in disbelief, realizing her ultimate attack failed as the tormented souls begin their eerie chant once more. He rises, dismissing the interruption, and preparing to resume their deadly battle. Meanwhile, Shenya asks the spirits through the microphone if they know a certain celebratory song. To everyone's surprise, the tormented souls in the wall eagerly agree to his bizarre request. The villain panics as his curse is hijacked, forcing the souls to sing a cheerful tune instead of a dark chant. Even Xiao Mengyu can't help but be amused by the absurd sight of the horrifying wall singing to her. The bizarre song echoes through the collapsing building, completely overriding the villain's dark ritual. Utterly humiliated, the villain screams Shenya's name in a fit of pure, unadulterated rage. He unleashes his fury, smashing the ground and sending a shockwave of destruction across the battlefield. Xiao Mengyu realizes with alarm that the villain has abandoned their fight to go after Shenya. The small spirit frantically warns Shenya that the enraged villain is now heading straight for him. Looking panicked, Shenya quickly snatches a pair of headphones from the audio equipment. He puts them on, passionately instructing the spirits to sing an endless medley of their favorite songs. The souls happily oblige, their green eyes glowing as they begin a chaotic, nonsensical chorus. The villain appears at the end of the corridor, his fury growing as the bizarre concert continues around him. With glowing red eyes, he locks onto his target, announcing that Shenya's hiding spot has been found. He lunges forward in a blur of motion, intent on reaching his target in an instant. Xiao Mengyu intercepts the attack, shoving Shenya to safety, while he marvels at her incredible speed. The villain halts his charge, delivering a cold threat to Shenya to ensure he doesn't dare to flee. She urges Shenya to flee, but the villain shifts his focus, threatening to target Shenya's family instead. Shenya makes a defiant gesture as he retreats, ignoring the villain's increasingly horrific taunts. Safely away from the fight, Shenya anxiously paces, trying to figure out his next move. The spirit warns him against rejoining the battle, reminding him that his previous stunt was pure luck. Taking a moment to compose himself, Shenya acknowledges the truth in the spirit's words. He then turns the question around, asking if the spirit could defeat the villain, prompting a boast about its former power. The spirit quickly deflates, admitting it's currently too weak to fight and that escape is their only option. A sly grin spreads across Shenya's face, hinting that he has a different idea. He reminds the spirit of their existing contract, preparing to propose a new arrangement. Shenya makes a bold offer. He will restore the spirit's power if it helps him take down the villain. The spirit explains its recovery method, a ritual that drains souls to restore its full power instantly. It realizes with shock that Shenya intends to use the souls of the hotel's victims for this very purpose. The spirit confirms the souls are ideal but laments being too weak to chant, so Shenya vows to find a way. Acknowledging the ritual will take time, Shenya commits to creating a diversion to keep the villain occupied. He makes a morbid offer to become the spirit's undead minion if he dies, a clause the spirit eagerly adds to their deal. A glowing contract materializes, formalizing their pact and sealing Shen Yi's grim contingency plan. Shenya then pulls out his phone to record the incantation, a modern approach that bewilders the ancient spirit. He reasons that a recording is the safest option, convincing the spirit to endure the indignity for the sake of power. With the spirit's reluctant consent, Shenya hits record, capturing the ancient chant on his phone. The plan now in motion, Shenya instructs the spirit to reallocate all his stat points into agility. A system notification confirms the stat transfer is complete, granting him incredible speed. He sprints down the hall, instructing the spirits to listen carefully and repeat his words. Shenya then broadcasts the recorded incantation, filling the air with the ancient ritual's first verse. The chant echoes through the battlefield, invoking a powerful dark entity known as the Ghoul King. Once the recording ends, he passionately commands the spirits to recite the chant in perfect unison. The souls obey, their collective voices activating the murmurs of the dark and officially beginning the ritual. The villain is horrified, realizing Shenya has hijacked his corpses and now intends to eliminate him immediately. The spirit confirms the soul fires have ignited, but warns Shenya to evade the villain at all costs. Following the spirit's guidance, Shenya races up the stairs toward the rooftop where the soul fires are converging. However, the enraged villain appears behind him in a flash, cutting off his escape. The villain vows that Shenya will not escape as he continues his relentless pursuit up the stairs. He is suddenly forced to look aside as an attack shatters the wall next to him. Xiao Mengyu intercepts, bringing her sword down with immense force to protect Shenya. The villain narrowly dodges the fatal blow, twisting his body away from the blade's path. Despite his evasion, the attack still lands, wounding him as he's sent flying forward. Xiao Mengyu realizes with horror that the villain is so obsessed with Shenya, he's ignoring her attacks. He cleverly uses the momentum from her strike to propel himself even closer to his primary target. Cornering Shenya at a doorway, the villain declares that his prey has nowhere left to run. Shenya just barely slips through the doors as the villain lunges, missing him by a hair's breadth. Enraged, the villain smashes through the door, only to find the room empty and his target gone. The villain stands amidst the swirling souls, furiously demanding to know where Shenya has gone. He recognizes the incantation, identifying the entities being summoned as the Dark Mother of Bones and the Ghoul King. The villain attempts to hijack the ritual, invoking an ancient lord of the underworld to empower himself instead. Meanwhile, Shenya entrusts the fight to Xiao Mengyu, who stoically accepts the responsibility. She intercepts the villain, who is enraged by her sudden appearance and threatens her for daring to interfere. The villain completes his counter-chant, intending to use the summoned power for his own dark purposes. Above them, the souls converge on the ceiling as the spirit confirms this is the final stage of its power restoration. Shenya rallies the spirits for their revenge, holding up a glowing artifact and asking for their combined strength. He leaps into the air, carried by a massive torrent of soul energy as he calls for their cooperation. Suddenly, a warning cry makes him turn back with a look of shock and alarm. Shenya realizes the villain has become completely unhinged, driven by a singular obsession to destroy him. Consumed by pure malice, the villain lunges forward with a murderous roar. He lands a devastating blow, seemingly tearing through Shenya as Xiao Mengyu watches in terror. But his attack only hits a spectral illusion, which dissolves into purple energy before his eyes. The real Shenya has already repositioned himself, calling on the lost souls to join his fight. He rallies them with a powerful cry, promising to deliver justice by destroying their common enemy. The tormented souls answer his call, their eyes burning with a green fire of pure revenge. Their collective desire for vengeance fuels the ritual as Shenya soars towards the glowing sigil on the ceiling. The villain scoffs at the plan, instantly appearing behind Shenya to mock his futile efforts. With eyes glowing ominously, the villain prepares to unleash his full power and end the fight for good. Just as the villain prepares to strike, a colossal skeletal sword slams down from the heavens, pinning him to the ground. Xiao Mengyu reels back in astonishment, completely stunned by the sudden turn of events. The villain lies defeated beneath the blade, defiantly coughing as he stares up at his new foe. A towering skeletal entity, a calamity summoned by the ritual, materializes with a promise to end the villain's life. The storm rages over the hotel, mirroring the climactic confrontation unfolding on the rooftop. The calamity announces the villain's demise, its immense power pressing down on the trapped man. Shenya coldly informs the villain that his judgment will be delivered by the very souls he murdered. Struck with terror, the villain finally comprehends that Shenya has summoned an unstoppable force of nature. Xiao Mengyu recognizes this monstrous being as Shenya's ultimate trump card, a power beyond her imagination. With absolute authority, Shenya gives the final order for the calamity to execute the villain. The calamity raises its colossal blade, preparing to deliver the final devastating blow. Pinned and desperate, the villain unleashes tendrils of dark energy in a futile last stand. The red threads wrap around the skeletal giant, but the entity seems merely curious about the attack. The calamity scoffs, belittling the villain's so-called ultimate power. With a contemptuous glare, the entity effortlessly shatters the tendrils, calling the display pathetic. The villain can only watch in shock as his power is completely nullified. The ancient being declares that dealing with such an insignificant foe requires no effort at all. It reveals its true purpose, to answer the cries of the souls he tormented for so long. As its power surges, the calamity announces it's time to finally set the captive souls free. A massive, glowing ankh materializes over the hotel, initiating the final phase, the resurrection of the dead. The resurrected souls awaken with glowing green eyes, their torment evident. Xiao Mengyu observes the unsettling scene as the souls rise around her. The calamity declares the time for vengeance has arrived. The villain realizes he's losing control of the situation. He struggles against a binding force, realizing his magic has been neutralized. The villain continues to struggle, his frustration growing. He attempts to escape, pulled upwards by an unseen force. The calamity questions his attempt to flee. A burst of energy erupts as the calamity attacks. The villain reacts in pain and confusion to the sudden assault. The calamity reveals that the resurrected souls now crave the villain's living flesh, just as he once craved their power. A ravenous horde of vengeful spirits swarms the helpless villain, beginning their retribution. The faces of his victims, contorted in rage and hunger, are the last thing he sees. The entity explains that true justice isn't just death, but being dragged into the abyss by those he wronged. The villain recoils in absolute terror, realizing the full extent of his horrifying fate. In a desperate final act, he screams a prayer to any dark god, offering everything he has in exchange for his life. Shenya watches with sudden alarm, sensing that the villain's desperate gamble might have actually worked. A surge of sinister red energy erupts from the villain, repelling the vengeful spirits. The dark power forms a swirling vortex, pulling the villain into its center and away from the attacking souls. Believing he's been saved, the villain gratefully offers himself as a vessel to the new entity that answered his call. But instead of salvation, the dark power violently rejects the villain, contorting his body in agony. He desperately questions why the great being he summoned has suddenly forsaken him. Shenya realizes the villain is casting another spell and commands the calamity to immobilize him. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao Mengyu lunges forward with a sacred blade, determined to avenge his friend. His attack engulfs the villain in golden flames as he shouts a warning to Shenya. The villain sneers through the pain, revealing he is still protected by the shadow of his dark lord. Undeterred, Xiao Mengyu leaps high, bringing his sword down for what he believes is the final blow. His blade phases through yet another illusion as the villain mocks him for falling for the same trick twice. The real Shenya suddenly appears behind the distracted villain, aiming a gun at point-blank range. Before he can fire, the horde of vengeful souls swarms the villain once more, their retribution finally at hand. Shenya stands perplexed on the calamity's shoulder, realizing his shot went wide amidst the chaos. Admitting his poor aim, he commands his colossal ally to finish the job with an overwhelming flame attack. At his command, the calamity channels immense power into its sword for a final decisive strike. The villain is utterly consumed by a blinding explosion of holy energy, his form disintegrating in the blast. But as the villain perishes, a sinister wisp of green energy escapes from the site of destruction. The calamity senses the new threat and urgently warns Shenya of the imminent danger. In a flash, the skeletal giant forms a protective cage of bone around Shenya, shielding him from an unseen attack. The entity reveals a malevolent force tried to ambush Shenya the instant the villain died, and the bone shield was all that saved him. The calamity then directs Shenya's attention to Xiao Mengyu, who has rejoined the rooftop battle. Meanwhile, the vengeful souls watch as the last remnants of the villain's dark essence finally fade away. Sinister shadows suddenly appear, attempting to drag the villain's remains away through a shattered window. Xiao Mengyu leaps into action, diving through the broken window to pursue the escaping shadows. Shenya shouts for his friend to wait, then frustratedly asks the calamity why they aren't joining the chase. The entity explains that Shenya's safety is paramount, and it cannot risk leaving him behind to pursue the new threat. Shenya deduces that the shadow helping the villain cannot be the same force that aided Xiao Mengyu earlier. He comes to the startling conclusion that another unknown party is present on the battlefield. The calamity calmly suggests he use his communicator to contact this mysterious, seemingly friendly entity. Taking the advice, Shenya broadcasts a message, asking their unknown ally to show themselves. His call is met with only silence, leading him to believe their benefactor wishes to remain anonymous. Shenya's expression grows tense as he contemplates the presence of this unseen and powerful player. A mysterious figure named Ghostfire reports a failed mission to escort a young girl. Ghostfire explains the target, a girl on a motorcycle, unexpectedly jumped off and disappeared without a trace. The calamity notes the girl's impressive skill, chiding Shenya for trusting a stranger who could have been dangerous. Suddenly, Shenya receives a message from Xiao Mengyu, who claims to have uncovered a crucial truth. Shenya's eyes widen in shock as he begins to watch the video his friend sent. The video reveals a flashback of a young woman named Song Qingyun standing by a waterfront. In the memory, an off-screen voice asks Song Qingyun about her ideal future boyfriend. She initially seems unsure, but her companion insists it's time to consider her many admirers. A pensive look crosses her face as she considers the question more deeply. She fondly remembers a time when a young Shen-ye bravely protected her and her sister, a memory she has cherished ever since. In the memory, Song Qingyun confesses she wishes for a boyfriend just like the young Shen-ye. The video feed suddenly glitches, cutting to static and distorted noise. The recording shifts to a new, sinister conversation where a powerful figure asks about this Shen-ye. An underling dismisses Shen-ye as average, but another worries Song Qingyun might still seek him out. The man orders his men to ensure Shen-ye never gets near his precious Qingyun. His subordinate confidently states they can handle the situation without getting directly involved. Their chilling plan is to hire someone to arrange an accident for Shen-ye, a simple matter of money. The final order is given to send someone to play with the unsuspecting boy. As the video ends, the present-day Shen-ye stares at his phone, absorbing the sinister plot against him. He quietly processes the word play, the horrifying implications of the past finally clicking into place. Shen-ye reflects on countless scenarios he'd considered for the attacks against him. The vengeful spirits thank Shen-ye for defeating their tormentor. They express gratitude for avenging their wrongful deaths. The spirits yearn to understand why they were killed. Shen-ye is burdened by guilt and a sense of responsibility. He laments dragging innocent people into his personal conflict. Shen-ye hopes the spirits find peace and a better afterlife. He vows to uncover the truth and avenge their suffering. Shen-ye swears to become stronger and bring the mastermind to justice. He acknowledges his current weakness and reliance on others. The grateful spirits thank Shen-ye for avenging them, urging him to live a good life now that they can finally rest. Overwhelmed by their spectral touch, he listens to their final words of gratitude. They bless him with a long life and the strength to defeat the mastermind, promising to watch over him from the afterlife. With their last thanks given, the spirits look toward the heavens as their forms finally find peace. He stands alone amidst the fallen, the weight of their final words settling upon him as their souls depart. The calamity confirms the spell is broken, and the souls have finally returned to the underworld. Just then, Xiao Mengyu gracefully leaps back through the window, startling Shen-ye with her sudden return. He immediately questions her return and demands to know the identity of the mysterious black shadow she pursued. She reveals the shadow escaped, its power far beyond human, and warns it's likely connected to the dangerous entities known as calamities. Xiao Mengyu then astutely points out the shadow's energy field felt just like the one emanating from his own colossal companion. Xiao Mengyu, empowered by the Holy Guardian title, thanks Shen-ye for the insight and vows to grow stronger. He hopes her new power lasts, then immediately asks for an explanation of the cryptic video she sent. She gravely warns him that the truth is a complicated mess, far too dangerous for them to get involved in. Shen-ye's expression hardens as he intensely demands to know the identity of the people behind the plot. He urges her to leave the scene of the crime, promising her secrecy while still pressing for answers. With a heavy heart, she reveals the culprits are untouchable scions of powerful noble families. Shen-ye challenges her, pointing out that her own noble background should give her some clue as to who they are. She explains the vast power disparity, comparing their families to ants, but he furiously asks if they'll just let it go. She quietly confirms the culprits will be punished, a notion that leaves Shen-ye completely shocked. Her definition of punishment is a bitter one, a mere slap on the wrist and some financial compensation. Shen-ye furiously points out that after failing to kill him, the culprits will now try to silence them both permanently. Xiao Mengyu accepts this grim reality as the price for truth, feeling utterly helpless against the world's most powerful families. She considers them lucky that their assassin was a sadist, as a more professional killer would have left no loose ends. With the hit squad eliminated, she hopes her brother can rest in peace and prepares to depart, urging Shen-ye to be cautious. As she turns to leave, the vast, body-strewn hall separates her from the lone figure of Shen-ye. He stops her with a chilling question, asking if she would eliminate the culprits if she had the power. Xiao Mengyu freezes, her back to him, contemplating the weight of his hypothetical scenario. She dismisses the idea as impossible, stating that attacking families who are the foundation of civilization would destroy her own. Shen-ye yells past her excuses, demanding to know if she can truly accept this outcome. He gestures to the fallen, reminding her of the thousands of innocent lives destroyed just to teach him a lesson. Xiao Mengyu trembles, horrified that all this carnage was just a cruel game. Shen-ye roars in fury, refusing to accept such a twisted reality and vowing to make the perpetrators pay. In a fit of rage and grief, Xiao Mengyu unleashes her power, her glowing sword pointed to the heavens. She slams her blade into the ground, shattering the earth around them in a devastating display of power. Xiao Mengyu stands resolute amidst the destruction, her electrified blade still humming with energy. Despite her show of strength, silent tears of anguish stream down her face. Overcome with emotion, she leaps away into the rainy night, leaving Shenye behind. The calamity reappears, dryly remarking that Shenye's words have driven the poor girl away in tears. As Shenye prepares to leave, the calamity watches him and asks what he plans to do now. Shenye slumps to the ground, trying to brush it all off as a joke, but the calamity sees right through his facade. The calamity dismisses his act, but Shenye explains his human philosophy of pursuing happiness without being a doormat. Mounting his bike, he reveals his true plan, a brutal game of revenge against his enemies to honor the dead. The calamity is finally convinced, and Shenye orders the massive creature back into the ring to avoid unwanted attention. Before leaving, he shouts a message of thanks to the mysterious, unseen ally who has been helping him from the shadows. Unbeknownst to him, a young girl watches from a rooftop as he rides off into the rain-soaked streets below. She sits perched high above, blowing a bubble and sighing wistfully about how much Shenye has matured. The view expands, revealing she's sitting atop a towering spire, humming as she surveys the city. A strange pink energy begins to envelop her, her form shifting and her hair growing longer and changing color. She completes her transformation, now a stunning young woman with flowing blonde hair, radiating a powerful aura. With a fond but critical look, she muses that for all his growth, he's somehow become even dumber than he was as a child. The mysterious girl stands on the rooftop, speaking to an unseen companion as the rain pours down. She agrees with her companion's assessment, calling Shenye's recent actions rather foolish. A voice from her strange headphones asks why she isn't going to meet him now. She explains the timing is wrong and complains about having to clean up a mess her sister started, which nearly exposed her identity. After a brief argument, she attempts to pacify her companion by offering a treat of beef noodles. The entity on her headphones excitedly accepts, but then grows suspicious and demands to know what she wants. She asks her companion to erase all evidence of the night's events, ensuring neither her sister's crew nor anyone else finds out. When questioned about Xiao Mengyu, she confidently assures her companion that the swordswoman will remain silent. The entity on her headphones glows with red energy as it reluctantly agrees to her request. A monstrous red aura with glowing eyes manifests behind her as her powerful companion begins its work. The colossal red entity looms behind her, its power radiating from the top of the spire. A wave of crimson energy washes over the entire estate, wiping the slate clean. With the job done, the entity's glow fades as she declares her craving for noodles. Her plans are interrupted by a text from her sister, who desperately needs her at a party. She dismisses the party, choosing to honor her promise for noodles instead. Yinchin explains that her sister is the social butterfly, while she prefers to stay out of the spotlight. She leaps from the tower, mockingly referring to her public image as a complete nobody. Elsewhere in a lavish bathroom, a grim scene begins to unfold under a blood-red light. The culprits responsible for the attack meet a terrifying fate, suspended over a tub of dark liquid. Their forms are consumed by the swirling liquid, leaving behind only a silent, ominous pool. A man screams in agony as he is violently reconstituted from a pool of crimson liquid. He looks around in a daze, struggling to believe that he has somehow been brought back to life. Stumbling away from the tub holding his former allies, he looks to the heavens thanking a Lord Divinity for his revival. A sinister, shadowy being materializes, dismissing the man's misplaced gratitude with contempt. The man immediately prostrates himself before the true entity, thanking his master for not abandoning him. Gathering his courage, he questions why the entity waited until the last moment to intervene. The powerful being's glowing red eye flares, challenging the mortal for daring to question its actions. As punishment for his insolence, dark tendrils erupt and violently pierce his body. He collapses in pain, hastily assuring his master that he was merely perplexed, not defiant. The entity explains it couldn't reveal itself sooner because of an unfathomable presence lurking in the shadows, shocking its servant. The servant begs for forgiveness, but the entity mocks his weak power, explaining why he was so oblivious. The being admits it underestimated this world after the servant's power was unexpectedly countered and stolen. It reveals that other powerful entities like itself have descended and are now hiding in the shadows. The shadowy form dissipates, leaving the bewildered servant alone and calling out into the empty room. Suddenly, the click of the bathroom door opening startles the injured man. A familiar girl, Zhao Yibing, enters the room, her expression cold and unnerving. The man reels back in shock, unable to comprehend how she could possibly be there. As her form darkens with a sinister red aura, he finally recognizes her as the powerful entity. He immediately bows before his master's new vessel, pledging his undying loyalty. The entity commands her new servant to show her the secrets this surprising world has to offer. The entity informs its servant that their next target is the boy who started it all, Shenya. It wonders how Shenya broke a powerful curse, a power it spent eons creating and now intends to reclaim. To replenish its energy, the entity explains it needs souls, a hunger the servant feels as an unbearable torment. The source of his pain is revealed to be a flesh puppet, the very vessel used to revive him. A monstrous maw rips open on his torso, a hungry parasite that will devour his soul if not fed. The entity issues a grim order: hunt 1,000 humans for it to feast upon, leaving the servant the scraps. With a twisted smile, the servant eagerly accepts his mission, overjoyed at the prospect of the coming carnage. He launches into the stormy night sky as a streak of light, beginning his city-wide hunt. At the same time, an oblivious Shenya races through the rain-slicked streets on his motorcycle. Arriving home, he casually dismisses his roommate's concern about the noise, claiming he was just out for a ride. A security guard scolds him for the late-night noise, but Shenya quickly apologizes to avoid trouble. Once alone, he collapses onto his balcony, finally letting out a sigh of relief after a long night. He broods over the chaos, disgusted that a simple act of kindness from his past self led to so much tragedy at the hands of careless nobles. His thoughts are interrupted by a buzzing phone, an unexpected call from the Shen family he left behind. He cautiously answers, only to hear the voice of his first uncle on the other end. He recalls his uncle, Shen Shuofeng, a man who always looked down on him and his parents. The uncle makes a hollow offer of medicine before changing the subject to Shenya's childhood interactions with other noble families. His uncle's true motive is revealed. He's ordering Shenya to return and publicly apologize for his past actions. Shenya clenches his fist, realizing this demand is a direct consequence of Xiao Mengyu exposing the noble's crimes. He understands their plan. His apology would make him the scapegoat, absolving the true culprits of all blame. He realizes his family is sacrificing him to curry favor with the other nobles, with his uncle hoping for a personal reward. He foresees that this path will not only justify his eventual murder, but also endanger his parents and Xiao Mengyu. With cold sarcasm, he feigns ignorance, asking his uncle to enlighten him on who he supposedly wronged. When his uncle dodges the question, Shenya internally scoffs at his family's betrayal and refuses to comply without answers. His uncle misinterprets his defiance as greed, but Shenya clarifies he has a single crucial question. Dropping all pretense of politeness, he bluntly challenges his uncle's authority to command him. He mocks his uncle's high opinion of himself, suggesting he should be the one to appease the other families. As his uncle invokes their grandfather's name, Shenya simply hangs up, cutting him off completely. Just moments later, his phone buzzes again with an incoming video call from an unknown number. The call reveals 3 women inviting him to a party, a sight that catches him completely off guard. The women on the video call try to entice him to a party, telling him everyone is dying to meet him. A flustered Shen Ye politely tries to refuse their late-night invitation. The lead woman dismisses his excuses and insists on sending a car for him. He stands his ground, explaining that men also need to be careful at night, much to the caller's annoyance. With a final witty remark about his safety, he abruptly hangs up on them. He deduces these powerful families are simply curious about the man Song Qingyun, the ultimate heiress, intends to marry. Annoyed at being treated like a spectacle, he collapses onto his bed, wishing he had the power to defy them all. A system notification pops up, counting down to midnight and promising a new title for the next day. He's shocked to learn he has a one-time opportunity to gain a hidden ability by achieving a specific title for the 3rd time. He sits up, realizing that to fight his family and the nobles, he needs to actively pursue more power. With newfound resolve, he decides to gain the power to crush anyone who stands in his way. As the clock nears midnight, he focuses on seizing the opportunity for a hidden ability. His apartment door transforms into a glowing red portal, signaling the start of his trial. He finds himself transported to a desolate, misty forest, ready for whatever comes next. A massive, glowing skeleton suddenly bursts from the earth, surprising him with its appearance. He cautiously observes the towering undead creature, questioning its sudden emergence. The skeleton, its purpose seemingly fulfilled, informs him that their time together is over. It explains its need to return to the undead realm, prompting them to part ways. As thanks for his help, the skeleton gifts him a glowing blue ring, which he gratefully accepts. The two bid each other farewell as the skeleton disappears back into the gloomy woods. As the skeleton disappears into the mist, Shenya is left alone in the eerie forest. Now clad in armor, he watches his new friend depart, wondering if the skeleton can survive out in the wild. His thoughts are cut short as a massive explosion of purple energy erupts in the distance. The powerful shockwave sends him flying, knocking him to the ground in disbelief. Amidst the chaos, he recognizes the pained cry of his skeletal companion, realizing it's in trouble. He's stunned that his powerful friend was attacked so soon and fears it was defeated instantly. Acknowledging the overwhelming power of the unseen enemy, he wisely decides to retreat. But a system notification freezes him in place, warning that fleeing will cost him his precious title. He reluctantly changes his mind, telling himself he's going back to help a friend, not just for the reward. Before he can move, sharp spikes burst from the ground, trapping him where he stands. He's suddenly imprisoned within a cage of massive, sharp bones. Looking up, he sees a menacing, purple-clad undead figure gloating over its catch. The undead leader questions his connection to Fern, so Shenya decides to bluff his way out. A flashback reveals Fern is being punished for helping Shenya in a past mission, which led to other undead being killed. Thinking fast, Shenya loudly declares that he and Fern are allies planning to overthrow the human empire. The undead leader scoffs at his bold claim, preparing to unleash a devastating attack. Desperate, Shenya presents a glowing medal as proof of their infiltration into human high command. The skeptical leader pauses its attack, curious to see what trick he's attempting. An inscription reveals the item is a medal of valor from the Rhine territory, which emits a holy sign. The medal's origin is confirmed. It was awarded by Prince Norton, a potential heir to the human empire. The undead leader's minions express disbelief, struggling to accept that the human story might be true. Enraged, the undead leader demands to know how Shenya obtained such a powerful human artifact. The fearsome creature, identified as the baleful star, radiates a menacing purple aura. Shenya doubles down on his bluff, claiming their ultimate goal is to assassinate the human emperor. The baleful star mocks his plan, doubting a simple medal could grant them access to the emperor. Unfazed, Shenya insists they have a foolproof method to infiltrate the highest levels of human society. The undead leader is stunned when Shenya reveals a handwritten letter of recommendation from Prince Norton himself. Completely baffled by this new evidence, the baleful star demands to know Shenya's true identity. The leader reveals its reason for hunting Fern, accusing him of deserting a mission and leaving his comrades behind. Shenya throws his head back and laughs, finding the undead leader's justification completely absurd. Enraged by the laughter, the baleful star violently grabs Shenya's face. Lifting him by the throat, the leader demands an explanation, but Shenya calls them fools for punishing Fern, the only one who saw through the elves' trap. He explains a high elven priest was setting a trap for assassins, pointing to a shattered skull as evidence of the conflict. Shenya challenges them to verify his story, claiming his presence at the elven village is well known among humans. The undead leader scoffs at his supposed fame, but Shenya boasts about his personal recommendation from the prince. The undead minions begin to reconsider, wondering if Fern was a hero who sensed danger, not a deserter. The baleful star orders a subordinate to confirm the story, promising severe consequences if Shenya is bluffing. Unfazed, Shenya dares them to investigate, prompting the leader to question why a human would betray his own people. With a serious look, Shenya explains his motive. He's tired of being exploited by the capitalists. The undead leader is completely bewildered, having never heard the term capitalists before. Shenya passionately explains he's just a worker exploited by the wealthy elite who own all the resources. The undead leader and its minion can only stare back, completely baffled by his economic terminology. When a minion asks if it understands, the leader confidently bluffs, earning praise for its supposed wisdom. Leaning in nervously, the baleful star demands to know what terrible things these capitalists did to him. Shenya furiously reveals the capitalists subjected him to the dreaded 9-96 work schedule. The leader reacts with exaggerated shock before admitting it has absolutely no idea what 9-96 means. He clarifies that 9-96 involves working from 9 in the morning to 9 at night, 6 days a week. The undead leader is genuinely horrified, admitting that such a work schedule sounds incredibly brutal. With a grim look, Shenya reveals he endured something even worse, the 07 system. The undead are left speechless as he describes 07, working around the clock 7 days a week without any breaks. Moved by his tale of woe, the undead leader pulls Shenya into an unexpected, heartfelt hug. The baleful star now sees him as a kindred spirit and asks how he survived such a brutal existence. With tears in his eyes, Shenya prepares to spin another sob story to win them over completely. He begins a tragic tale of being a freezing, starving child with only a single box of matches for warmth. A system notification warns him this story will likely earn him the embarrassing title, The Little Match Boy. Horrified by the prospect of another ridiculous title, he internally rejects the idea with all his might. He quickly pivots, claiming that just as he was about to freeze, his savior Fern appeared and rescued him. At that moment, a minion returns and confirms that Shenya's story about the elven trap is entirely true. The undead minions realize Fern is a hero who not only dodged a trap, but also recruited a valuable human ally. The baleful star is now conflicted, knowing it can't execute Fern without turning its own soldiers against it. The baleful star internally weighs its options, realizing saving Fern is costly, but killing him is now impossible. After a moment of thought, the undead leader clears its throat, ready to address the situation. It dramatically presents a medal to Fern's disembodied head, declaring him a valiant and deserving warrior. Turning to Shenya, the leader bestows upon him the new title, the Little Match Boy, to help hide his identity. A system notification confirms the embarrassing title is now his, much to Shenya's internal frustration. With a sparkling flourish, the baleful star expresses its immense pride in both of them for their supposed loyalty. The leader and its minions quickly depart to report the news, leaving Shenya to deal with Fern's battered remains. As they vanish, Fern's head calmly explains that the undead often abandon their injured comrades. Fern reassures him that its power is in its skull, prompting Shenya to promise a calcium supplement for regrowth. Fern then curiously asks if capitalists are real, to which Shenya clarifies they only exist in his world. Fern explains that other races often copy humans, shuddering at the horrifying thought of undead capitalists. A system notification suddenly warns Shenya that he's been spotted again and cannot flee this crucial encounter. He's immediately surrounded by armored soldiers emerging from the misty woods who command him to freeze. The knights accuse him of being a traitor to humanity, having caught him red-handed with the undead. Shenya is stunned as he recognizes the person leading the group of knights. It's Prince Norton himself, who mockingly greets Shenya as the boy who lived. The prince demands an explanation, threatening to execute Shenya personally if he dares to lie. Thinking fast, Shenya cheerfully presents Fern's skull, introducing him as his personal undead informant. Prince Norton scoffs at the claim, questioning how a human could possibly form a contract with an undead. To the prince's surprise, his elderly mage companion confirms that Shenya is telling the truth, as he is being monitored by arcane magic. The knights are stunned, admitting the legendary boy who lived truly has tricks up his sleeve. Joined by a beautiful elf, Shenya confidently states he's already passed the undead intel to the Shadowhand Brotherhood. The elf vouches for Shenya, using her expertise in soul magic to declare his spirit remarkably pure and righteous. The prince demands to know the undead's motive, so Shenya begins to explain Fern was treated unfairly by its own kind. At the mention of its suffering, Fern's skull is struck by a sudden traumatic memory. Playing along, Fern's skull dramatically cries out that it suffered from the dreaded 996 system. Just like the undead leader before him, Prince Norton is utterly confused by the term 996. Fern launches into a passionate speech about undead capitalists, leading the prince to mistake them for a new type of monster. Fern illustrates the plight of the undead proletariat, forced to sell their labor to the wealthy elite who own all the tools. The elderly mage connects the dots, realizing the horrifying efficiency of using tireless undead as the ultimate exploitable workforce. Prince Norton narrows his eyes, demanding to know the meaning of 996. Fern's skull details the grueling work schedule, 9 in the morning to 9 at night, 6 days a week. The prince grimaces, conceding that such a schedule sounds incredibly harsh. The skull then reveals it suffered an even more brutal system known as 07. As Fern describes working around the clock with no breaks, the prince and his companions are left utterly aghast. Overcome with sympathy, Prince Norton embraces the giant skull in a surprising display of compassion. The prince now sees Fern as a kindred spirit and asks how it endured such a terrible existence. With a tear welling in its eye socket, Fern begins to recount a pivotal memory. It tells a story of escaping its captors and finding a freezing Shenya, who only had a single box of matches for warmth. Shenya frantically tries to stop Fern from continuing the story, desperate to avoid his embarrassing title being revealed. Fern's skull recalls a fabricated memory of Shenya as a child, lighting a match to warm it, the first act of kindness it ever received. Inspired by this supposed kindness, Fern declares it decided to rebel against its cruel undead masters. A system notification confirms Shenya's new title, the Little Match Boy, has become as famous as the Boy Who Lived, much to his horror. When the prince asks for proof of its defection, Fern's skull confidently presents its skull bone metal. The elderly mage uses his magic to inspect the metal, confirming its powerful and authentic nature. The metal's inscription proves it was awarded by an undead general, and the mage confirms to the prince that their story is true. Prince Norton is moved, realizing he is witnessing a historic, unprecedented event of an undead siding with humanity. Believing Shenya lost his memory in battle, the prince decides to bestow a new name upon him as a great honor. The surrounding knights are stunned by this gesture, recognizing it as a life-changing reward for the young hero. With a knowing smile, the prince begins to announce Shenya's new name, starting with the letters Har. Shenya desperately pleads with the prince, begging him not to choose that particular name. The prince suggests an alternative, Loli, leaving Shenya even more horrified. The prince notes Shenya's displeasure and delves into a historical legend. He describes a legend of two children of gods, Loli and Peppa. Since Loli is out, the prince proposes Peppa as Shenya's new name. Shenya is aghast, recognizing Peppa from his old world. The knights stand ready, their swords glowing with power. The prince demands Shenya swear an oath of loyalty to humanity as Peppa. Shenya contemplates the implications of his new name and forced sainthood. He reluctantly accepts his new identity and swears the oath to humanity. As Shenya swears his oath, the knights' swords erupt in a brilliant golden light, commencing the ceremony. Sacred energy swirls around a surprised Shenya, marking the completion of the ritual. The elderly mage confirms the ceremony is over, and Shenya eagerly asks what his new name will be. With a proud smile, Prince Norton bestows upon him the grand title of Saint Peppa. Shenya's face contorts in absolute horror at his new absurdly saintly name. The prince tasks him with a new mission, to act as a spy and report directly back for great rewards. To aid him, the prince hands over a special shimmering piece of paper. He reveals its enchanted letter paper for instant communication, a tool for top-secret royal intelligence. Shenya salutes with gusto, already plotting how to leverage this direct line to the prince. With the new arrangement settled, Prince Norton and his retinue depart, leaving Shenya to his mission. The elf reveals to Shenya that the name Peppa holds a hidden secret. She explains the legend of a divine hero named Peppa, who could master any weapon, even ones unknown to their world. Shenya understands the name signifies a master of odd weaponry, and the elf encourages him to live up to it. He learns the name is surprisingly common, with the elf listing several different Peppas she knows. She reassures him that as the royally appointed Saint Peppa, he is the most special of them all. With their business concluded, the elf and the knights depart, waving goodbye to Shenya and Fern. Fern immediately begins to mock Shenya, calling him by his new, hated name. Enraged, Shenya summons a dark portal and warns Fern to call him by his proper name. Fern defiantly calls him Peppa again, prompting Shenya to threaten its calcium supply as it launches an attack. The skull hurtles through the air, chasing Shenya as he retreats into the portal. Shenya calmly steps through the dark portal, escaping the enraged skull. He emerges on the other side, having successfully used his portal as an escape route. The giant skull, however, manages to follow him through the dimensional doorway. Fern is bewildered, finding itself pulled along by an unseen force and demanding an explanation. A system notification suddenly appears, congratulating Shenya for surviving the sieges from both humans and the undead. It recounts how the undead gifted him the Little Match Boy title, showing a flashback of the fabricated memory. The system then recalls the prince anointing him Saint Peppa, confirming he's now trusted by both factions. Praising his cunning, the system awards him the title One of Us for an unprecedented third time. For breaking the rules and achieving the impossible, his gate ability gains a powerful hidden skill. Shenya is shocked to discover his new power is temporal stagnation, allowing him to freeze time for 3 seconds when using his portal. He learns his new time-stopping power has a 1-week cooldown, but can be upgraded by acquiring better titles. As time resumes, a system message reveals the first activation was a free trial, leaving Fern frozen in confusion. Shenya steps back into his room and asks the skull about the experience, only to find it has vanished. He then consumes his One of Us title, converting it into 3 valuable stat points. Utterly drained, Shenya collapses into bed, ready to end the chaotic day. A sudden loud banging at his door startles him from his rest. Qianrushan's voice orders him to get ready for their trip to the exam site via airship. A magnificent airship resembling a flying cruise liner soars through the sky. Aboard the vessel, an exhausted Shenya is found passed out on a plush sofa. A persistent buzzing sound disturbs his sleep, much to his groggy annoyance. The buzzing is a message from Zhao Yibing, who reveals she also qualified for the exams and wants to meet. Shenya is stunned, wondering how his seemingly ordinary classmate managed to secure a spot. He notices her appearance has changed, her hair now a striking shade of purple. He asks Qianrushan about this surprising development, who nonchalantly confirms Zhao Yibing's qualification. Qian reveals a rumor about her hidden incredible talent, which was secretly sponsored by the Archaeology Association. This association is a powerful organization that uncovers ancient secrets and wields immense influence. Doubting Zhao Yibing has such connections, Shenya decides to ask Xiao Mengyu, who is investigating her. He pauses, lost in thought as he considers contacting his former ally. A flashback reminds him he made Xiao Mengyu cry, making him question if she'll even answer his call. Casting aside his hesitation, he decides to call her directly and apologize if necessary. He nervously calls Xiao Mengyu, asking if she knows anything about Zhao Yibing. His world shatters as Xiao Mengyu coldly informs him that Zhao Yibing is dead. Stunned, Shenya explains he just got a message from the dead girl, who is also heading to the exams. Xiao Mengyu reveals she's also taking the exams and suggests they discuss this mystery in person. As Qianrushan notes their 10-hour travel time, Xiao Mengyu delivers a grave warning over the phone. She strictly forbids him from meeting Zhao Yibing alone, insisting the girl is incredibly dangerous. After the call, Qianrushan correctly guesses he was speaking with the now-famous Xiao Mengyu. Qian reveals that Xiao Mengyu unleashed a massive surge of sword qi the previous night, signaling a major power-up. Shenya realizes she successfully used the Holy Guardian blessing to achieve a breakthrough in her skills. He questions her advanced abilities, and Chen explains that noble families like hers provide elite training from a young age. Shenya realizes the immense head start noble scions have, training from a young age while commoners wait until high school. Qian explains they train advanced concepts like resonance and have access to secret techniques and artifacts, making comparison futile. Feeling the pressure of competing against these monsters, Shenya is surprisingly reminded by Qian that he's also from a noble family. Qian passionately declares that the human martial arts group will be Shenya's true family, promising their full support for the exams. While feigning gratitude, Shenya cynically believes Qian is just buttering him up to ensure his loyalty to the group. Qian notes Xiao Mengyu's new water-walking ability, but an exhausted Shenya dismisses the topic and tries to get some sleep. His attempt at rest is immediately thwarted by another persistent buzz from his phone. Annoyed to see it's Zhao Yibing again, he decides to trick her with an old photo to get her off his back. He sends a deceptive message, claiming he's still in a different city and won't be at the exams for a couple of days. The moment his message is sent, his phone buzzes with an instant reply, startling him. Zhao Yibing counters his lie, claiming she's also in Zhangbei and asking for his exact location. Shenya's eyes widen in disbelief, certain this is no mere coincidence. Thinking fast, he sends another old photo, lying that he's now heading to Nanshan Temple. Before he can even put his phone down, it buzzes with another immediate reply. She eerily claims she's already at the temple and suggests they meet for dinner. Shenya checks a map, horrified to see the temple is 60 miles away, making her instant travel impossible. Overwhelmed by the strangeness, he gives up and collapses on the sofa, deciding to sleep it off. He convinces himself she can't possibly reach him on the airship, which is currently flying high above the temple. The scene shifts to inside the temple, where Zhao Yibing stares at her phone with a body lying behind her. A horrifying reveal shows her feasting on a victim, vowing that Shenya cannot run from her. Inside the temple, the serene statues are disturbingly marked by the recent violence. Elsewhere, another monstrous scene unfolds as a determined girl stands over the fallen, vowing to reclaim what's hers. The story then flashes back to a snowy night at a serene traditional estate. A young Shenya is seen enjoying a festival, running with a sparkler under a sky full of fireworks. His celebration is cut short when he spots two young girls cowering in fear nearby. The source of their terror is revealed, a monstrous wolf-like beast stalking them through the snow. Despite the danger, the young boy shouts and charges forward to intervene. He bravely positions himself between the beast and the girls, shielding them with his own body. The massive creature lunges, its jaws snapping shut towards the defiant child. The memory ends with a voiceover, marveling at how the boy miraculously survived the brutal attack. The flashback continues, showing his parents relieved that he's finally stable after the brutal encounter. The two girls he saved are shown, holding handmade cards as a token of their gratitude. They visit the bandaged boy in his hospital bed, giving him a card and saying their goodbyes. A blushing Shenye proudly presents the cards he made for them in return. He stands alone on the snowy street, waving as the car carrying the two girls drives away. His dream is interrupted as Qian Rishan shakes him awake, pulling him back to the present. 10 years later, he can't help but wonder what those two girls look like now.